She's a 58 Fury.
Alien to this world.
For the first time.
Any chips?
Why, of course. I believe there's a whole bag.
Ricky, I don't have time for your nonsense right now.
Well, excuse me, bitch.
Look at all that young, fresh chicken. Where I come from, we call them baldies.
Fucking bastards are gonna pay for this! Cocksuckers! Pricks! Angela, I am waiting for an answer. Yes or no? God damn it, answer me, Angela! Answer me! God damn it, answer me, Angela!
Hey, girl, let's not forget to thank Angela for getting Meg in trouble. I didn't do anything. Angela and Judy are missing.
Oh, no. Hey, what's all the fuss? There's a killer loose. Make sure no one leaves your bunk for any reason.
Hi, I'm Barbara Crampton from Chopping Mall, and you're listening to The Hysteria Continues.
You are indeed, and welcome back to Hysteria Continues, episode number 62. And we're all sat here in the sunshine. Well, some of us are. How's it looking in the States? It's boiling hot and not very unlike England here at the moment. Is it like that for you in the States, or you got rain, or?
Well, we had a lot of rain recently, but it kind of subsided for a few days and got, kind of warm, but now it's raining again.
Right. Okay. What about you, Erik? Is it glorious sunshine with you?
It is glorious sunshine. I mean, this time last week I was in sunny Greece.
Yes.
And when I landed back in Dublin, it was still like it was sunny Greece.
Gosh. How was
So it was nice.
How was Lesbos?
Yeah, I wasn't on Lesbos.
Oh,
I was on Kefalonia.
Okay.
Where they filmed Captain Corelli's mandolin, so I reenacted it as Captain Eric's pink oboe.
Did you get it out and give it a good old twirl or whatever you do with an oboe blow?
I did, yeah.
I did see you. There were some rude signs. Were they yours? Did you do those?
Did I do them? Did I do the pictures? Yes. Oh. I insisted that we stop the car so I could take a picture because there was a town near where we were staying called Fanny's.
Right. Yeah. Which, of course, has a slightly different meaning in Ireland and England as it does to the States.
It does, of course.
No, it does not. Well, yes, it does, actually. Erik, you're so immature.
Yeah,
I am. I'm so immature.
Well, I think it kind of ties in quite nicely with the feature film we have today. But before I get to that, how are you, Nathan?
I'm all right.
Yes.
It sounds like he's doing laundry.
you puppy sitting at the moment?
Yes.
Yes.
He's all over the place.
Okay. But very adorable, I guess.
Yes, he is. I think he'd be very adorable if he went and curled up on his bed and slept during the podcast.
Right. Okay. Well, we keep our fingers crossed. And on animal news, we said goodbye to Captain Mannering yesterday, but not in a bad way. Well, we found him a new home because he was bullying the other cats and was generally not very happy and a bit jealous. So we found him a lovely new home on his own. So he's going to be very, very happy. So we had to get him in a cat basket and across town yesterday. So that was all a bit traumatic. But
yeah, some cats are like that. They prefer to be alone.
Well, that's the thing. He was just kind of he was all right with the female cat. It was the other two males he would just kind of attack, and it was just escalating. He was just jealous of if they got in the way, he would attack them and stuff, and it just wasn't really fair on them. So, but he's got a lovely new home. So that's all ended well for him. So, but yes, feature presentation. Today's my choice, and that is Sleepaway Camp, and it's a film. I've probably been asked for us to do more than any other film. So hopefully there's kind of quite a few Sleepaway Camp fans out there. And also we're going to be doing something which at first I thought, well, actually, how can we do this? It's not really feasible. Then I realised actually there were enough bitches in slasher films for us to do a top 3. So we're going to be doing top 3 slasher movie bitches, complete with sound clips from all of them. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But
can I just interject and say, if anyone hasn't seen Sleepaway Camp, we're going to, as usual, spoil the hell out of it.
Yes.
And because it has such a remarkable ending, I put up on our Facebook page earlier a link to the complete uncut version of the film is available in HD, actually, on YouTube. So I'd advise people who haven't seen it
I think the ending is cut.
Hmm?
I think the ending is cut.
Ha, ha, ha. Yes.
Yeah, it can be immature as well.
You are immature. Immature. Pronounce it properly, American boy.
No, that's how I pronounce it.
Right. Well, before we come to fisticuffs, let's get on to our recently seen. So, we haven't recorded for a little while, have we? What has it been? How long?
It's been over a month, I think, is it?
Over a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Joseph and I did.
Oh yes,
unfortunately.
Yeah. Of course.
Yes,
Well, actually, let's talk.
apparently,
I just have to interject and say the sound setup was pretty bad because I was on a temporary setup that day.
Okay.
Yes, and I listened to this on the beach. What on earth is that noise?
It's his toy. Axel, give it. Give it here.
Is that a dildo?
Play with a quieter toy, please. And then you're away from me.
Away from me, Nathan, please.
Yes.
Anyway, I was listening to your episode last week, and apparently, according to Nathan, I say top of the morning in an English accent at the start of every episode.
Oh, did I do that?
Yes.
My Irish accent is not very good, so...
Neither is mine, to be honest.
There. God. All right, I just changed his toy because the other one's driving me crazy.
And that's not Nathan's flatmate, by the way. That's his puppy.
Yeah.
So, yes. So how's it going with preparation for the Kickstarter and stuff? How can people find out more about the night before Easter?
Oh, are we on that now? I thought we were still on his puppy.
Well, we're seeging. It's called seeging into from one subject to another. So yeah,
it's going fairly well. I mean, we're almost halfway there, and we've got like 36 days left. So you can go to Kickstarter and just search for the night before Easter, or search for the night before Easter on Facebook. Ideally, I'm trying to be optimistic, but I'm kind of in a the glass is half empty kind of mood lately. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping we'll make our goal, but if we don't, we have a little bit of a fallback position. It's not preferable, but we'll do what we can. But if you can afford to throw even just $1 our way, just that helps. So check us out, and we really want to make a really good film. So.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. You. And also, as pointing out earlier, before we came on air, as it were, that you don't have to pay anything up front, do you? It's only you only get only money's only taken if you meet the goal of like $10,000.
Yeah, a lot of people saying they want to they want to pledge and they want to help out, but they can't afford it right now. And I can understand if you can't afford it, that's fine. But the thing is, they do not charge you until the goal is met. And if the goal is met, obviously you're not charged. And they don't charge you until after the funding, date is over with. So if you wanted to throw in a couple of bucks, they're not going to take it out unless we meet our goal. So.
Okay. And also, for an incentive, we've got copies of the, not deleted, but the withdrawn double bill, haven't we, of Savage Water and, what's the other film again? I always forget the name of it, Invitation to Hell? No.
Death by Invitation.
Death by Invitation, that's the one, yes. Which will be collector's items now, won't they? So
yeah, we have 28 copies left. So if you want a copy of that, throw in a pledge for $20 and you get that, and you get a thank you credit, and you'll get a free screener copy of the film once it's completed. And that's a lot cheaper than eBay. A lot of eBay prices are going anywhere from $50 to $100. So if you want a copy of the film, that's a good way to get it.
Yeah, and thanks to Vinegar Syndrome, and we will be. I'm not sure if we probably can't mention what we're going to be doing, but we will be doing some more with them in the future, won't we?
Yes. I can mention that we are doing another commentary for them. It's for an unusual pick, but it should be fun, I think.
Okay, yes. And, okay, well, let us know, Joseph, when we can say what that is, because I'm not even sure if they've actually announced that title yet, have they?
No, they have not.
Okay, so we won't talk about it at the moment. But keep your ears peeled for that. So anyway, let's go on to recently seen. So Joseph, do you want to start? What have you been watching since we last talked?
I've watched a few movies. Last night I watched a couple. I watched one called Exam, and basically 8 people, are invited to this like prestigious company for a job interview. And it's kind of like Cube, where it's basically a bunch of people, locked in one location for the duration of the film. And basically the plot is that this guy comes in and says, if you want to join our esteemed ranks, you have one question before you, and there's only one answer. And they all have a sheet of paper. And then he leaves the room, and they look at the paper, and there's nothing on the paper. So they spend the next, 90 minutes trying to figure out what the question is and what the answer could possibly be. And basically they kind of, like Cube and Saw and those types of confined space films, they kind of, start going a little crazy and, completely acting, not really normal and just overreacting to every little thing, trying to figure out this question because they all want the job. And, what the job is a little vague until the end, but it is a pretty good movie. I kind of like the setup, and I like the whole what's the word I'm looking for, the resolution to the whole quandary of what the question and answer is. I thought it was kind of clever. I guessed it midway through, but I still thought it was clever. But the problem is that they kind of spoon feed you a little bit too much information towards the end of the film, and it's really unnecessary. But if they had just kept the initial setup and then ended it when they reveal what the question and answer is, I thought it would have been a lot better film. But it just goes on for another 5 or 10 minutes, and it's too much information, so that makes it's a little too long. But a marginal thumbs up if you see it. It's from 2009. It's pretty decent little thriller. Not bad. I do have to mention that the characters are completely just hateful and despicable, but here it kind of works because it kind of adds to the actual storyline. So yeah, not too awful.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is I'm talking over a bunch of.
It sounds like the apocalypse.
And I also watched a film called Nailbiter last night. It's basically this woman and her 3 daughters. They're going to pick up her husband from the airport. He's back from the war or something, or he's in Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that, whatever. And on the way they drive through Kansas, and there's news reports of a huge tornado coming through. So they try to drive past the storm, but then they get a glimpse of the actual tornado, and they realize it's probably best if they find shelter. So they pull off the road and they run to this nearby house, and they essentially break into this cellar to kind of wait out the storm. And basically what happens after that, I don't really want to say anything, but they have more to worry about than the storm is pretty much all I'll say. And it's a pretty good movie. It's got some really good special effects and some good suspense. And but my problem is that it has some really poorly written dialogue and some flat acting, and a lot of the questions they raise are just kind of shuffled, like shooed away by the wayside or whatever. And so I was a little underwhelmed with it as well. Particularly the mother character, who's I guess essentially the lead. She's pretty terrible. I mean, the oldest daughter is actually pretty good as this kind of she kind of becomes this kind of ass-kicking hero towards the conclusion of the film, and she's pretty good. But the rest of the cast, or you can tell they probably plucked these people off the street somewhere, and it's kind of distracting because the actual production values are really, really well done for such a small budget. But I'm afraid I did not end up chewing my fingernails like I'd hoped, because it is called Nailbiter. But I'll go ahead and give it another marginal thumbs up. Just kind of see it with reservations.
Okay, I've not heard of that one. Anyone else?
No, I haven't heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Joseph. It's always unearthing gems. So, anything else?
Yeah, I saw Friday. I went to see Pacific Rim, and you guys. Yeah, go ahead, laugh. Get it out of the way. There you go. I'm sure you guys aren't really interested in this type of movie, but I like gigantic monster films, so I was kind of excited for this. It's basically these kaiju, which is Japanese for strange beast. They're these skyscraper-sized monsters, which the film actually calls kaiju. They basically emerge from the ocean and they start wreaking havoc on Earth. So the government funds this program where they build these gigantic skyscraper-sized robots that are kind of controlled by two people to fight these monsters off before the monsters basically destroy the world. And the initial setup where the narration is explaining where they came from and their first attack on Earth was like really great, really well done, and the effects were really well done. And there's a few scenes in the film that you're like, wow, this is just kind of breathtaking. But I have a problem with this film. For one, it's a little too long, and it didn't have as much monster attack footage as I wanted. And the actual monster footage that they had, a lot of it's like they filmed it's obviously CGI, so you have to contend with that. But the CGI is fairly decent, but the problem is that it's at night and there's a lot of neon lights everywhere, and it's hard to make what's going on because it's just so fast and quick. But my main problem with this film is it's more rousing and rah kind of Independence Day type stuff, and I'm not into that. And another problem I have with the film, I know you're not really supposed to invoke logic in a film that we're in a world where they have giant robots fighting giant monsters, but I have to take issue with this because if these people essentially, if they have the means and the money to build these giant robots, why do they have these pilots fight these monsters inside the robots? Why not have these people remotely doing this from some other location so they won't get killed? Because through the film a couple people die trying to fight these monsters, and so then they have to move into this whole, oh well, they died, but they died for a cause, and now we can do it. We can rise up and destroy the apocalypse. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to go out and get killed because you had all this money to build these robots, but you were too stupid to kind of use the same technology to control these robots from elsewhere so your people wouldn't get hurt. I just kind of find it if you're going to have these giant robots, obviously you're going to have the logic to control them from some computer somewhere, and it's just kind of false suspense, and it doesn't really work. And like I said, it's too long, not enough monster footage. I'm not a big Guillermo del Toro fan anyway. I think he's kind of overrated, so I'm not giving it a thumbs down or a thumbs up, just kind of a thumb sideways maybe. I was just very underwhelmed with it, is the word.
Okay. Nathan, did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it. I'm not really interested in it.
Okay. I mean, I saw the trailers, and the trailers looked good. So, I mean, I know Eric's a fan of Rims, aren't you, Erik? So you tempted.
Ha, ha, ha. I do like Guillermo del Toro. I like Pan's Labyrinth and Devil's Backbone in particular. It wasn't pushed on the Hellboy movies because I don't really like superhero stuff. I absolutely despised everything to do with Transformers, and that's what this film kind of reminds me of. So that's why
it's much better than Transformers. I'll give it.
Yeah,
that. It has it has a human element to it that's missing from the Transformers films. But
still,
I don't know.
I'm not pushed. I mean, maybe I'm maturing finally, but I just these summer blockbusters just don't do it for me anymore.
I find that hard to believe, Erik.
Yeah, I'd say it's good for a one-time watch, but it's nothing I'd ever want to see again.
Okay, well, I fancy seeing it. Did you see it in 3D?
No, I did not. I saw it in just 2D.
Because it's post-converted, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I can't remember. There's some shots were actually filmed for 3D, but most of it was post-converted. But I heard that it's just like most post-conversions, it's not totally well done. So I guess if you want to see it in 2D, it's not going to make much of a difference.
I wonder why they do that, because is it just cheaper to do it that way than film it in 3D? I guess it must be. Yeah, and then it's cheap. I'm assuming it's cheaper just kind of post-convert it in 3D, and then they still make their money by selling 3D ticket prices. So, it's a financial thing. Did you actually, just as an aside, did you hear about 3D TVs? In this country, well, in the UK, they've stopped. The BBC has stopped broadcasting in 3D now because they said there isn't enough interest in it.
Yeah,
so,
I heard that. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the same in the States, but apparently just it's not being... Because I know, Nathan's, you've got a 3D TV, haven't you?
Yes, I do.
Do you watch stuff on it? Actually on sort of streaming and TV shows and stuff?
No, I mean, to me, that's pointless. I just watch movies where I think stuff's going to fly out of the screen.
Well, another thing about this film, financially speaking, is that it cost $180 million, and I think it's only made like 30 odd million this weekend. So it was pretty much a financial disaster.
Ouch.
And they were, a while back they were kind of expecting it to be this huge summer blockbuster, but then it just kind of got overshadowed by that Despicable Me film, and then I think Adam Sandler had some movie out with a bunch of comics that kind of, yeah, that's it, and it just kind of completely overshadowed, and so now they're all like disappointed, and
that probably
myself, if it wants to make 180 million, that's fine, but I don't think it's, I don't see what the 180 million went into except for all the, the grand computer effects, but whatever.
Well, that sort of pretty much put pay to his plans to do the H.P. Lovecraft film. He's been wanting to get off the ground for ages, hasn't he? In the Mouth of Madness or the Mountains of Madness or whatever it was that he wanted to do, and they were kind of very wary of doing that. And I don't think he's ever going to get to do it now, is he? Because if he can't make money doing a film this commercial, then that's kind of probably off the cards. But
I think another problem with this film is that he doesn't really have anyone who could sell the film. He's got the guy from The Wire and the guy from Sons of Anarchy, and they're not really big names. And I think he needed some kind of big name to kind of drive the project. And I think a lot of people are like, well, it looks pretty good. It's giant robots versus giant monsters, but who's the star? And I think that might have been an issue with the film as well.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And anything else?
No, I haven't really been watching a whole lot of TV lately, unfortunately.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Joseph. Nathan, how about you?
I watched Sleep Tight.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the one that you had talked about previously. I really liked it. I don't know if I necessarily found the main guy to be sympathetic. I kind of thought it was pretty awful what he was doing to the people in this movie. But it's interesting nonetheless, because it's just he's so miserable that he has to make other people miserable too. That's the only thing that actually makes him happy.
It's kind of like Justin.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think it's pot calling kettle black as usual, Erik. Handbags.
There's some bullying going on this morning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I liked it though. I thought it was a really good movie and worth checking out for anybody that hasn't seen it yet.
Okay, yeah, I'd say we talked about that previously, so that's good you checked that out. Anything else?
The ABCs of Death, which ho hum. I mean,
yes,
it's just so it's so I don't care. I mean, I think I could have come up with I think if you put Voodoo Massacre in that film, it would have been the best movie in that whole ABCs of Death.
Whoa.
They're making a sequel to that.
It's almost every film in that anthology is a miss. I mean, there's some letters that are just most of them are like comical rather than supposed to be, I guess, scary. And I don't know, there are a few ones that are okay, but for the most part, they were just god awful.
Mm. Okay. Well, I've not. You've all seen that, haven't you? I've not seen it. No, actually, Joseph,
I've not seen it yet, but I have no interest in seeing it.
No, same here. So,
no,
okay.
I watched it for free.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not worth seeking out at all.
Okay. Right. Okay. Anything else, Nathan?
The last thing I watched was Bloody Bloody Bible Camp.
Oh, yeah.
The movie about a group of teens going to a Bible camp and getting stalked by a nun with an axe. It should have been a lot better than it is. It starts It opens with like a big massacre where the nun just kills like 6 or 7 people. Like it's like a mini slasher movie in the first 15 minutes. And then after that, it takes like an hour for anybody else to get killed. And I just don't know how they lost it. They built up some good momentum and then they just blew it.
Well, everyone knows, don't they? If you're making a slasher movie, you need to be killing somebody at least every 15 minutes, don't you?
Yeah, at least.
At least. Either boobs or butt or slashing every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're making a trashy slasher movie. And I'm sure they, the night before Easter will be following that to a T, won't it?
We're keeping it at 80 minutes, and, there's only going to be about, it's going to be a lot. There's a high body count, we'll just say that.
Cool. Yeah. Okay.
Is there boobies?
No, there's no boobies.
What about butts?
No, there will be
Winkles?
some innuendo and some slight skin here and there, but we're not,
What, an ankle?
I'm a guy, but even I'm, kind of, I can go either way with, nudity. I'm more about, suspense and good characters. That's what I'm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. You read Playboy for the articles.
I don't read Playboy. Playboy is boring.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's not raunchy enough for you.
Yeah, it's not raunchy enough.
Okay, use it. Well, we'll get on to chicks with dicks later. Quite literally. So, thank you, Nathan.
Before we move on,
oh, yeah.
I almost forgot. There was one more I watched, and I know Nathan has seen it, and I don't know if you two have seen it, but it's Excision with Tracy Lords.
Oh, yes. Great movie.
Yeah, I saw that, and wow, that was a really good film. The girl that plays the main girl, who's the kind of the unhinged girl who's basically trying to be a surgeon. I thought she was really well cast, and Tracy Lords, who is essentially this former porn star who got into trouble for doing underage porn. She's someone you never expect to go on to make a very good living as a serious actress. But wow, she was so good here. I mean, I will go so far as to say that her performance was pretty much Oscar worthy. I thought she was really, really that good, and the film is just really well made and kind of bizarre and demented and out there. But I really enjoyed it a lot.
I saw that one at the Horrorthon, and I was kind of perplexed because I didn't view it as a horror film as such. I thought it was more of a quirky indie comedy.
No, it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's definitely disturbing, but it's also funny in a lot of places as well. But I really enjoyed it.
Not the ending, though.
No,
the ending was horror, yes, but the rest of it, yeah. I mean, I could have done without the ickiness of the menstrual blood, which sort of was, a common thread throughout the film. That was making me feel kind of sick, to be honest. But I do agree, Tracy Lords.
This comes from the guy who likes Bob Hoskins' back hair.
Yeah, well, that's completely different.
I did watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit a few days ago. I forgot about that.
Shwing.
And his back hair is prominent in that film.
Yes, I know.
Well, that segues us nicely onto Erik.
Yes.
So,
okay. Well, I recently seen. I was before I went to Greece. I was in hospital. I was having my gallbladder removed, and I had to stay in for 5 days in the end, which was more than I anticipated. So my flatmate brought in my laptop, and I watched the Maniac remake, which I discovered wasn't a great idea, as I had various kind of tubes and things sticking out of my side. So every kind of slash and stab in the movie, I was really wincing at because I could sort of feel the pain. But I do agree that the film is very well made, very well acted, very strong. As Joseph said, it has a great score. It has this kind of electronic score that sounds like it could be from the 80s, but sounds contemporary time, which I really liked about it. As with the original, it's probably not something I would go back to too often because the violence in it is quite cruel and extreme, and it doesn't have that fun slasher feel that I prefer, from something like Friday the 13th. But I do agree it is a good movie, although I'm still, as with the original, perplexed as to why sort of the moody title character manages to strike up such a good relationship with the female photographer when he's so withdrawn and seems so disinterested in any human beings around him. That bit is still...
If I could be fair, I think the girl, she was kind of withdrawn in her own way. And, Elijah Wood, I mean, he's not wonderfully attractive, but he's a little more attractive than, the original guy.
Yes, that's true.
So I think there's some kind of leeway there for that.
But, I mean, he does show signs of being a bit of a creepy weirdo early on in the film to her, and I'm just surprised that her alarm bells weren't ringing, to be honest. Much more fun, though. I watched the other night, actually, I got on Blu-ray the new Arrow release of The Car, which is the 1977 Universal picture, which is kind of a mishmash between Killdozer and Jaws. Now, to me, the film, I'd only ever experienced the film on TV viewings, so it always felt kind of like a TV movie to me. But this new Blu-ray is in its original aspect ratio, and it looks absolutely stunning, and it feels really cinematic for the first time to me. And the film is just so enjoyably silly and trashy, and what makes it wonderful is that everyone is playing it straight. You know, the cast led by James Brolin, and also the daughters played by Kim and Kyle Richards, the sisters who are so prominent in so many 70s and early 80s movies. I especially love that really, I suppose it's hard, I mean, it makes me sound really evil to say it's a hilarious opening sequence where the two cyclists are pushed off the cliff by the evil demonic car. But I could watch that opening sequence over and over. It's just so much fun. It's a film. It's not going to make anyone's top 10 list. I know it's probably in, I think I read on the Internet Movie Database, it's in the top 100 worst movies of all time, which is probably why I like it. But I urge anyone who has any interest in the film to get the Blu-ray, because it looks absolutely amazing.
Was it meant to be quite campy?
I don't think so, no. Now, there's a commentary track with the director on the Blu-ray, but I've read reviews that it's a bit dry and a bit bland because the director is now into his mid-80s. Right. So he doesn't have a lot to say for himself. But
keeps nodding off.
Possibly. Yeah. But from what I can tell, no, I think it's meant to be taken seriously. I mean, this is 1977, I suppose, when... You know, if it was made nowadays, it would be done like Snakes on a Plane, I suppose. But back then, I think it was made as a serious suspense movie. And I mean... There are moments of decent suspense and horror in it. It's just that the whole concept is just so ludicrous.
Okay. No, well, that sounds it's one I'll look out, because it's a film that I saw on TV back in the early 80s, probably, or mid 80s on TV in sort of late night, sort of BBC double bills. So, I'd be interested to check it out.
So. And just one other one I watched recently. Speaking of Kyle Richards, she's also in the next one I saw, which it's one I've come very late to in the day, 33 years after it was released. Watch Her in the Woods, which was the sort of Disney movie they made when they were sort of experimenting with more grown-up features, you know, with films like The Black Hole and this one, which stars Holly Lynn Johnson and her younger sister is played by Kyle Richards. They move into this old mansion where the landlady is played by Betty Davis, and she has a tragic backstory where her daughter vanished mysteriously 30 years earlier. Now, I have to say that the film, as we were saying, like the film is a great length. It's only 80 minutes, possibly less. And it starts out in typical haunted house fashion, you know, very much like something like The Nesting or Amityville 3, probably it's more close to. And there's a great scene, actually, where Lynn Holly Johnson is looking into a mirror and she doesn't see her own reflection. And it's quite an eerie image. And then the film sort of later on moves into some fairly barmy sci-fi directions. And there's a controversial ending to it, actually, that I didn't realize that was suffered major studio interference. And you can watch the alternate endings on YouTube if you want. But I thought as a whole the film was interesting. It does have that Disney sheen to it. So if you're looking for something a bit extreme, it's not the place to go. But I was really impressed by it, I have to say. I don't know has anyone else seen Watch Her in the Woods?
I think I saw it at the cinema.
I saw that years ago, but I don't really remember anything.
Yeah, I imagine it probably would have been a PG in the cinema, or whatever the equivalent was back in the day.
What year was it?
1980.
80. Okay, I would have been 11. So I think I did see it at the cinema, actually, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, but I urge it's not an essential viewing item, but I got a loan of it from my other half who had it on DVD, and it's one I'd read about in the past, but didn't really know what the plot was or anything. So I was really surprised, particularly with the last 10-15 minutes. So I wasn't expecting it to go in such a sci-fi area, but enjoyed it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, Eric. Is there anything else? Is that you?
No, I think I've seen one that you probably have seen as well, so I'll wait to see what you have to say.
Okay. Right. Well, I'll just rattle through some of the ones I've watched. I watched this probably about 3 weeks ago, so I don't remember that much about it, but it was Sick Boy, which it's got Debbie Rochon. Is it Rochon? Rochon? Or whatever. But anyway, Debbie
Rockin'.
Yeah, she's in it as she basically plays this mother who hires a babysitter to come and look after her child. And the babysitter's this kind of blonde, I think she's a waitress or an actress, but anyway, she comes to, and she's got a face a bit like a slapped arse, one of those kind of characters. A face with character, basically. And she just listens to like really kind of misogynistic rap music for some reason, some weird kind of character quirk. And anyway, she gets hired by Debbie Rochon to babysit, and she's told that her son is really, really sick, and he's locked in his room for his own good, and she should never go downstairs. And of course, as you can imagine, eventually she does go downstairs, and
no,
yes, and then all hell breaks loose. So it was kind of like it's a low, sort of mid to low budget kind of zombie movie, I kind of guess, and it's actually quite good fun, and I really like the ending to it. The main girl's a bit stupid, but she does everything she kind of, in some ways, apart from the main stupid action of going downstairs and, basically unleashing the zombie Armageddon on the world. She does mostly the right kind of things, which is slightly ironic considering she just did that. But it's worth a watch. It's kind of like a little time waster.
Well, if you're dumb enough to listen to rap music, you're probably dumb enough to go down into the cellar.
But it's just kind of bizarre. She's kind of driving along in a car, and it's all like, "Oh, bitches, shoot the bitch in the head," and she's like bopping along at the steering wheel. It's just really bizarre. But there you go. That's youngsters for you today. But so has anyone seen it?
No, I haven't. I was reading about it recently in something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not great, but it's kind of it's quite entertaining.
Actually, I think the review was in the Dark Side magazine I was reading on my holidays, trying to escape from the Mr. Bully himself, and there he was, mentioned 3 times in the issue I was reading.
Oh, that's what his fame for you.
Yeah, I know. It's gone to your head.
I know. I'm sitting here in a gold throne, surrounded by cats.
Yeah, that's I imagine. Yeah.
So,
with a fine glass of port.
Actually, I've got a
uncanny that impression. Uncanny.
Yeah,
my little tinkle.
I've been working on my accent a little.
Yes, it's everyone always does. All the Americans I know always do that kind of slightly bizarre, Bobby. Where's the Bobby kind of type English accent?
Was that your American right there?
Well, no, not really. I'm not very good at accents. And we've done accents.
We have terrible accents. Everyone has a different accent in the States.
Yeah, I know.
It's like kind of, no one's accent are like consistent with one another.
No, well, it's the same in the UK as well. They, right across the UK, you've got, where in Bristol, where I live, it's a real kind of country, not country bumpkin, ooh, my lover, that type of accent. The only because I'm from Surrey, so there's no real accent there. Apart from
when you were in Surrey during your boyhood years, did you romp with your school chums in the fens and spinnies when the twilights bathed the hedgerows like a lambent flame?
Yeah, I'd say you did.
So yeah, most of the time I did. Yes, and then we go punting down the riverway.
Did you have to do Morris dancing as part of your curriculum?
No, I've never Morris danced.
All right.
I think your British accent, Justin, is not, I guess, as pronounced as what I see on TV. I was watching that show Balls of Steel, and some of the people on that show have the thickest accents.
Well, what's kind of funny is that I remember talking to Justin on the phone like 10 or 15 years ago, and I couldn't really understand a word he was saying. But now that we've all talked so much, I don't really even hear an accent. You just kind of sound American to me, both of you, actually.
Oh, dear.
It's seriously.
I'm constantly mistaken for an American whenever I'm in Scotland for some reason.
Especially Erik. I mean, Erik, I don't even hear an Irish accent anymore.
It's kind of a neutral Irish accent, yeah.
Whenever we go abroad, we're always asked if we're Australian or South African, especially in America. In Los Angeles, we were like someone asked us, what Johannesburg was like. So it's just really bizarre. but there you go. So anyway,
isn't that Africa? South Africa?
Yeah, South Africa.
Yeah.
So, but they've got their accent, South African accent's quite sort of. I can't do accents. I wish I could do accents, but I can't do a South African accent. But it can, especially that kind of that white Afrikaans is really quite sort of tight, kind of clipped.
Yeah, think of the lead character in District 13 it was called?
Yeah, 19.
Like District 9.
District 9, sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's a strong South African accent.
Justin, you can do an American accent because you did one on the last Slumber Party podcast.
Yeah, I know. I have to psych myself up to do accents because it always kind of comes out slightly wrong. So, but...
we know this is all very exciting for you listeners. So
yes, indeed.
We're glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Well, talking of slightly bizarre things, the film I think Erik was probably hinting at was one that I watched. Actually, I don't know. Maybe you have watched it, but it was on the new Sci-Fi, as in the television channel.
This wasn't the one, but I'm interested to hear what you thought.
Okay, Sharknado.
Yay!
With Ian Ziering, woo!
Yeah, which was premiered about 2 or 3 days ago in America, and through the magic of the internet, I managed to see it. Obviously, I took a private jet over to Hollywood and watched it.
I was wondering how you saw it. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly how I did it, Erik. Just so you know.
Private jet in the United Kingdom is a euphemism, by the way.
Sorry.
Private jet in the United Kingdom is a euphemism, by the way.
It could be, but not in this case. Not in this case. Well, I suppose it is, but no, it isn't. But anyway, Sharknado. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I thought it wasn't as good as Mega Piranha versus whatever they were. The ones with Debbie Gibson and Tiffany in. I thought those are funnier.
Yeah.
Sharknado was pretty funny and pretty, there was some quite good stuff in it, but it was almost slightly too ambitious. And basically, the premise, which is deliciously daft, as most of these kind of films are, is there's a hurricane is heading towards Los Angeles, and there's loads of sharks pushed up by the storm surge, and also there's also tornadoes, water spouts come onto land, and the sharks are caught up in the tornado, the water spouts, and every time the water spout stops, the sharks go flying off and landing on people and eating them and flying through windows and sort of various things like that. So and also all the roads have got their sharks in the roads. There's sharks coming out of kind of tunnels, sort of water tunnels, and they just keep on flying through the air. And then sort of there's a great scene where there's also Tara Reid in it, the great Tara Reid, who's obviously in Urban Legends. I think that was probably the height of her career, apart from...
No, her height of her career was Celebrity Big Brother, where she became best mates with Jedward.
Oh, that's true, yes, of course. But she's in not the Hollywood Hills, but she's right in the hills, and there's still sharks out there. They managed to get in there, and these sharks managed to fly through her window, and for some reason, I'm not entirely sure how, the bottom part of her house floods, and there's sharks in her hallway, and she's up a hillside. So it just goes to show it's obviously not going for believability. But it was entertaining enough. There was something missing. It was kind of, I don't quite know. It just wasn't. It needed a Tiffany, I think, or a somebody like that in it. It didn't.
Or
quite,
a Toya.
Or a Toya. Toya would have been good.
She was one of the sharks. She was one of the sharks.
Well, there was a scene. There was a scene at the end set in an old people's home, so she would.
Hey, no.
What?
Yeah, she could have been a nurse there, a nice young, sprightly nurse in the nursing home.
There's not enough latex.
Changing Susie's bedpan. You should have went that route.
Yeah.
Well,
you could have had him, but you didn't. Yeah. You failed.
So anyway, Sharknado. I take it you've seen it, Nathan. Did you watch it?
Actually, I haven't, but I saw the trailer and it looks amazing, so I have to watch it.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely enjoyable. It's just It was, and also, of course, being an asylum film, they do all the special effects on the price of a couple of meals at a fast food restaurant. So the CGI, there's lots and lots of CGI, and not much of it's very convincing. But I kind of guess, in 20 or 30 years' time, there'll be people like us talking about these movies and doing podcasts on them, and seeing them as the great kind of like the fun sort of retro kind of films and laughing at the CGI, but I don't know what the budget was, but apparently it was. I don't know why this one really took off in public consciousness, but it got even Mia Farrow was tweeting about it, which was bizarre.
I think probably the title is just so outlandish.
Yes,
hilarious.
Yeah, well, there's also other ones, isn't there? Kind of. I mean, there seems to be like a massive resurgence in shark movies. I've just added. There's that Bait movie, isn't there? And they said obviously the private screening I had in Los Angeles, it said afterwards on the Sci-Fi Channel, it's Two-Headed Shark Attack, on the file I accidentally downloaded on my way back from Los Angeles. But anyway, so that was Sharknado. But so anyone else seen it?
No, but I did see Asylum have a new movie out called Atlantic Rim.
Yes.
It's amazing. I guess that about 4 months ago, I said, I bet you $1 million Asylum will do a movie called, I said Atlantic, I don't remember, Brink. I think I said Brink. But, it's still the same movie, yeah. I guess, and it happened.
I've still never seen any of their movies.
They're pretty bad. I mean, they've got a couple that are, if they've done a couple where they actually did original stories, and they're not terrible. I mean, they're not great, but they're actually not bad in a sense. But when they did these mockbusters, they're pretty much terrible. They did one for Cloverfield called Monster, which was pretty awful. And they did one for
Snakes on a Train. They had as well.
They did one for the Transformers. Of course, the Transformers films are pretty awful in their own right, but they did one called Transmorphers.
Yeah, brilliant.
So
David from the forums, BTK, he came up with a pretty fun idea. I thought would have been hilarious. They did one on They didn't do it, but they should do one on the Toxic Revenger. He said it's called the Toxin Revenger. I thought that would have been kind of funny.
I did see on Facebook someone had done a mock-up of a film called Cage Nado with Nicolas Cage is coming out of a tornado, which I thought would be pretty fantastic. But
his career's in such fiduciary straits right now. He would probably actually do that for the paycheck.
What about Gothnado?
Well, that
Lots
could
of
be
goths in a tornado. That'd be cool.
Or Toyanado.
Toyanado. That's what
brilliant! Yeah.
Yeah, that would strike the fear into anyone's heart, wouldn't it?
It would make me very happy.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a demographic of one. So
shut up, you.
But I was just also thinking about the people. Obviously, the thing that hasn't escaped our attention is certainly here on Hysteria Continues. There was obviously the word rim, which we alluded to earlier, and obviously that has a double meaning. And I was just thinking about the porn. It doesn't really even need, if there's anyone looking to make a porn version of it, where do they go with it? I mean, you could do.
Well, there's a porn star called Pacific. They could just call it Pacific's Rim.
Or Pacific Quim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of where do you go with that? But yes. So anyway, that's that. But seguing nicely onto this, and I wonder if Erik, we'll find out if this is the one you're talking about. But it's not actually a film, but it's a TV series, and this links back not only to Toya, in a 7 Degrees or 6 Degrees Kevin Bacon way, but also Idris Elba, who was in Pacific Rim. He's in the third series of called Loofah, which is not loofah as in the brush, but loofah as in the German whatever, sort of the name Loofah. And he plays a detective, and he was the guy who was in, what was that, the film you were talking about? No, the TV series.
The Wire.
The Wire, that's right.
Wasn't he in Prometheus, no? Was he not in Prometheus?
Yeah, he was in Prometheus as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, Loofah's I haven't seen any of them. The reason I started watching this one was that basically the first person murdered in it was left dressed as Susie Sue. So basically, so this killer had gone into this house, and this woman who's like a businesswoman in her 40s, and killed her. And when they found her, she had a fright wig on, black fright wig, and black leather and fishnets. And they were having a discussion, Loofah and the other cop, about whether or not Susie was gothic or post-punk. So it's quite bizarre.
Oh, interesting.
But the reason I'm mentioning it now on here is that whoever made it are obviously fans of slasher movies, because the killer, there's a number of moments or scenes in the two I've seen on the third season, and I won't go into any details on it, but basically there's that plays out exactly like a slasher movie, with this killer in one breaks into a couple's house and attacks them and kills them, and then he also goes and hides in a wardrobe in a nurse's house where these 3 nurses come home, and he's basically stalks these nurses around the house. So it's got real slash movie leanings. So if you have any opportunity to watch it, then it's definitely worth a watch. And also, it's very good as well. It's very, very well shot and quite twisted and quite very entertaining. So do you get Luther over there?
No, I've heard of it though.
What channel is it on?
BBC One.
All right. No, I
on
haven't
Monday.
seen it. Yeah.
So it's worth watching. It's definitely worth watching though. So, and the last one I'm going to talk about only very, very briefly is the last kind of film I saw at the cinema was World War Z, or Z if you're in the States, which I kind of enjoyed. I thought it was quite entertaining. It wasn't, but it's funny enough that the people I was with who aren't big horror movie fans enjoyed it a lot more necessarily than I did. I thought it was quite a good film. But also, I've read the book, which I really, really liked, a Max Brooks book, which was excellent. And I liked it, but I could really see the kind of cracks in it where, because, it's one of, if any film they were thinking was going to flop really badly in the summer, it was going to be this one. And it hasn't. It's done pretty well, actually. But its budget was spiraled to over 200 million, I think, and they kind of completely reshot the last third of the movie. And instead of featuring a massive battle, which they all shot apparently, it was all shot in the Red Square or whatever in Moscow, and they completely scrapped it and then reshot an ending in Wales, which is kind of slightly bizarre. With set in a lab, so it's kind of cheaper, but it kind of worked quite well with it as being chased around a massive great lab by zombies, but. It was, I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. And also, what was interesting about it is there's no blood in it at all. There's hardly any gore or blood at all in it. There's lots of violence, but it's all kind of off camera, pretty much. Because Brad Pitt thought it would be a good idea to make a zombie movie without any gore, which is a slightly strange thing to do. But have any of you seen it?
No.
No.
Okay. It's worth a watch. It's quite spectacular. I mean, the opening scene in New York, which is actually shot in Glasgow, where they, did you not know that?
No.
Yeah, they shot the opening scene model for New York. It's all shot in Glasgow. So there's lots of people running around going, "See you, Jimmy," like this, dressed as Americans up and down the street.
Oh dear, our Scottish contingent are going to be.
Yes,
complaining about that.
But it was yeah. So that was very spectacular. But and there's great scenes set in Israel, because Israel's the only place in the world that has this big wall around it. So managed to keep everyone out, or the zombies out, until someone puts in a Toya record.
What?
Well, it's not a Toya record actually, no. But they get attracted by this bad singing because they get attracted to noise. And so you've probably seen the trailer where they're rushing up the wall and they all bundle on top of each other, and then
they should listen to the Lord's Prayer on the Susie and the Banshees' first album. Then
that would be wonderful. We know the old story about Susie and the Banshees said it was fantastic. They used to there was a wine bar they used to put on Voices, which is the B-side of Hong Kong Garden, when they wanted all the yuppies to leave at the end of the night, and they put it on and they all run out with their hands over their ears. So yeah, but that was on purpose. So anyway. That's me done. So
the one I was thinking of was I know that you've bought it as well. The Happy Birthday to Me When a Stranger Calls double Blu-ray.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I watched When a Stranger Calls actually the other night, but yeah.
Yeah, so did I. I mean, because I've never owned When a Stranger Calls, believe it or not, in all my time, because I don't rate it very much, to be honest. The first 20 minutes are great. The rest of it is kind of like what's the movie I'm thinking of? Don't Answer the Phone. It kind of reminds me of, which isn't a film I'm terribly fond of, but. It was dirt cheap. I got it for like €10. So I did notice that all the subtitles are in uppercase, so it makes it look like everyone's shouting.
Right. Okay. I thought that When a Stranger. So I was going to say, When a Stranger Calls looks absolutely fantastic on it. I mean, it's never, because I've got I have an old VHS copy, which is one of those films that has just kind of basically started to fall apart now. And I think when I tried to watch it, I could watch about 5 minutes of it, and it just kind of basically went into complete snow and started to make strange noises. So I kind of ejected the tape before it chewed it up, which is obviously one of the pleasures of VHS. But now it just looks incredible. Looks so. They've done an amazing job with it. I haven't looked at Happy Birthday to Me. Does that? I imagine that looks
Yeah, it looks good.
Amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, regarding the soundtrack, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, to be honest, because I'm just like that. It's like when a girl gets a new haircut, I just don't notice, that type of thing. So,
but it's the same. It's the right soundtrack, isn't it, on this release?
That's what Johnny said when he was on with us on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I did see one other film when I was in hospital. I was trying not to laugh because it hurt when I laughed. So I put on a film. Now, it had this line of dialogue. So I think Joseph might be able to guess what film this is. Can you guess, Joseph? I'm going to go, "Oh, no, not on broccoli. Oh, no, not on cauliflower." Can you guess?
No. Is it Orgasmo?
No, it's not a film that you normally would laugh at. It was Police Academy 2. But that particular line of dialogue made me laugh quite hard, and it really, really hurt. But now I can say it without going into convulsions of agony, and I'm still saying it like a month later. Not on broccoli.
Police Academy 2 sucks. I don't remember much about it, except that it sucked.
Well, it has that little racist bit in it that it was quite funny, so...
You racist.
We're offending...
Well, it is. Yeah.
Offending the Asian people, Scottish people.
Yes.
Anyone with taste. It's, yes. So... Right, well, that was...
I thought, I'd like... Police Academy 2 came on the TV, and I said, okay, I'll put that on, because it won't make me laugh, but it did. I am ashamed to say.
And are you, after your operation, is that sorted out your sort of
Yes,
troubles?
it has. I haven't vomited at work yet since I had the operation, which is excellent. Because I was vomiting at work quite a lot.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to hear it was a success.
Yes.
So, I think we should celebrate.
I still like Toya.
Well, there wasn't a success completely, but I think, talking of Toya, we should move on to our top 3 bitches. What?
I walked into that. I totally walked into that. I can't believe it.
Oh well. I think we'll. Yes, we have a certain. Well, you know who coming up, don't we, Erik?
Who? Yes. I know who.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do, and I think it's going to be really fun, is we're going to be doing top 3 bitches, and also a little surprise for fans of the cat flushing the toilet, which I'll talk about in a minute. But what we're going to do is, courtesy of Joseph, thank you very much, is we are going to play the clip first, so you can play along at home and try and guess who this bitch is. And we're going to start with you first, Joseph. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, well, here's Joseph's number 3.
Hello, Sydney. How are you?
Hey, what do you want, Gail?
Well, I was hoping I might get just a few words with you.
Cotton.
Hi, Sydney.
Here we are at Windsor College, where Sidney Prescott has just been reunited with Cotton Weary for the first time since she wrongly accused him of murdering her mother.
What the hell are you doing?
We want to know how you feel. Tell us everything that's happened, looking back on the last 2 years.
Sydney, I'd just like to say that I forgive and forget. Just like you, I'd like to get back on with my own life.
Do you have any comments?
You bitch.
Hey, deep breath. Not on camera.
Oh, Sydney, share with us, please.
Oh, I'll share with you.
Okay.
Did you get that all down?
Yes, I got that all film.
Come on. Sid? Wait. Where's she going, Gail? Sydney? Where's she going? Gail, I thought we had an official interview. What's going on? She didn't know?
Man, that was cold.
Hey, you need to check your conscience at the door, sweetie. I'm not here to be loved.
Gail, you promised me 10 minutes of national
You'll get your
coverage.
10 minutes when I get my goddamn interview.
Okay, Joseph.
Okay, and I think they gave it away with Sydney and Gail, but that's Gail Weathers.
It's Gail from Coronation Street, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Gail from the Scream series, particularly Scream 2. I always thought the characters were kind of hit or miss or bland, but I always liked Gail. She's like, I think Courtney Cox did a really good job of playing that, that bitchy kind of news reporter who kind of straddles the line of being likable and kind of totally unlikable. I think she has some of the best, dialogue, and I think her character kind of evolves more than anyone else in the series, and so that's why I picked her as one of my bitches, as it were.
Excellent. That was a good choice. Yes, definitely.
I really like Courtney Arquette. I'm not going to call her by her real name because Justin will just re-edit it to make it sound like I enjoy something rude about a man's body. But I do. I think she's very likable in the Scream series.
She's I think she is. It's just a shame in some ways she loses that kind of. She becomes a much more kind of softer, doesn't she? In some of the other.
Well,
films.
it's like the worse her haircut gets, the nicer she becomes.
So. It's inversely proportional. Let's draw a graph.
Even when she gets nicer, though, she still kind of has that edge that like say Sydney doesn't have. To be honest, I like Sydney, but I just don't think she has the edge that Gail has.
Gail's feisty. She deserves to be a final girl.
She does. She does.
I don't think Courtney Cox has got any edges left on her face now after the photos I've seen recently.
Why are you always so mean about people I like?
She looks like a baked potato now.
You're all being mean.
I just don't understand. I really like, I think she's a really attractive older woman, and I kind of going for that kind of pillow face look. It just doesn't look. I just don't, that obsession with kind of plastic surgery and stuff. It's it just makes people look weird.
It does. Kenny Rogers, hello.
Oh God, he looks like cabbage.
You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille.
He does look like a Cabbage Patch doll. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, what can you say? But some of them. Oh, and the other one I saw, Sophie Loren. God, she looks like Mr. Burns now. Simpsons. She looked really beautiful up to about 2 years ago. Now she's had some weird surgery. Like she's got like kind of weird cheekbone.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Have you seen her?
Oh my. Yeah, I'm just looking at a picture here over now. The internet. Oh my God.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do that to yourself? Why not just? Yeah. But anyway. I'm not against a little nip and tuck, but there's something to be said, I'm sure for that, if you have it done in a good way. But if you're going to end up looking, like a Cabbage Patch doll, it's just never going to be a good look. Just go with your wrinkles.
Justin enjoys the tuck.
Oh yes, yes. So all tea, no shade.
Yeah. Ew.
Yeah.
So okay, well, thank you, Joseph. I think, Erik, should we move on to your number 3?
Yes, please.
Let's play your clip.
Julius is the only senior I'd even consider doing it with. He is so good looking. Gorgeous guy at 10 o'clock. Sensual. I think it's time for some recreational activity, girl. No thanks. Be a lightweight. This is top dollar, too.
It's not that. It's just, if we get caught, I could lose my science scholarship and everything.
You're talking to the prom queen, Eva. Do you really think I'm gonna risk getting caught?
Jesus.
Have you guys seen my dog? I think he came this way.
No, we haven't. Did you care for her head?
No, thanks.
We're Space Cadet. Wonder if she'll narc on us.
Okay, that's anyone can guess that? I'm sure you can. Yes, you already know anyway, so I don't know why I'm asking you. Yeah. It's Tamara from Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. She's the coke-upped super bitch who has the superiority complex, and she's trying to lead Kelly Hu down the wrong path. She uses her nerdy... Kelly Hu.
Who?
Not Tom Brockery. Oh God. She uses her nerdy video expert, so-called friend, to try and frame her headmaster. For all her bitchiness, I do end up kind of feeling sorry for her, because I think her death in Jason Takes Manhattan is probably the sequence is the most suspenseful and the most probably intense, because I like the way she sort of peers out the door of her ensuite and sees Jason in the room, but doesn't quite know what's going on. Yeah, but maybe she does deserve to die. She does push Rennie into the ocean, although Rennie is the blandest final girl ever in the history of any slasher movie. So maybe actually I am on the side of Tamara after all. So Tamara is my number 3. She's my favorite. I even like her more than yesterday. Huh? Tamara. Yesterday.
Oh dear.
That's my finest material.
Is it?
Yes.
Gosh.
But then you're fired.
I'll get my coat. It'll be the only thing.
Erik, you're not living up to your responsibilities. I'm sorry. We're going to have to let you go.
Okay.
Oh.
Speaking of which, package. Yeah, just like the guy who was originally to play the lead in Friday the 13th, Part 8, he was sacked as well for not living up to expectations.
Well, you didn't have like a really horrible haircut, or?
Yeah, he didn't look enough like Jason Priestley or something, so they sacked him. Yeah. and brought in Scott Reeves. I mean, the two most boring characters in all of slasher history.
Yes. Well, I imagine we may hear from another Friday the 13th bitch coming up in a little bit. But Nathan, did you have anything to add?
I like her a lot, actually. I actually agree with Erik that I think that the bitch is more interesting than the final girl in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's got better hair as well.
Yeah. And of course, we are going to be moving on to the mega bitch of Sleepaway Camp a little bit later. So, but
there's
Nathan,
2 mega bitches in Sleepaway Camp.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, the fight of the mega bitches. Right,
Yes.
Nathan, here's your number 3.
So, Jamie, what do you think about Meryl?
I don't think she likes me.
You're in the majority. She doesn't like us too much either.
Why is she such a
bitch? See, she used to be Jim's girl. They were a hot item, if you know what I mean. Only nobody's supposed to know about it.
Well, then how come you know?
Jim talks in his sleep.
Shut up, Dana.
Oh, come on. It's not like it's a secret or nothing. Anyway, Meryl still wants Jim, but he's got his mind on younger ladies. She's been pissed ever since.
Mm-hmm. He also won't let her dance. Remember she said about wanting to dance again? She used to be the best dancer in town. She made $5,000 a night, plus tips. She was hot, but that was like 5 years and 15 pounds ago. Now she's here to help us dance. Passing on the torch, so to speak.
But she's always going on about how she's going to dance again. Just you wait and see. I'll do it.
If you're quite finished, it's time to rehearse.
Okay, Nathan.
That's from Last Dance. And in case you didn't know what was going on there, they were all talking about that woman who came in at the very end and overheard them. I picked one of the girls that's in that scene, Dana, as number 3 because she is a very huge bitch, in my opinion. She has a guy propose to her, and she accepts his marriage proposal and then goes and sleeps with her boss like right after that, and then laughs about accepting this guy's marriage proposal who she doesn't intend to marry to begin with. And then there's a scene where he catches her and her boss, her fiance, quote unquote, and when the boss says, "Come on, it didn't mean anything," she gets upset and then runs to her fiance and wants him to beat him up for her. But she's great at playing a bitch. I'll give her that much. And I really like her character anyway, but I like bitchy characters to begin with, so.
Okay, well, it's a good choice. I haven't seen Last Dance for a long time. Is that the one where someone gets a bucket on the head?
Yes.
Yes. Death by bucket.
Yeah, several people get hit with a bucket and killed.
And bucket has several different meanings, doesn't it?
Yes.
But not in this film. But anyway, no.
Who wants to hear something really bizarre? I've never even heard of Last Dance.
Have you not?
No.
Oh, you should watch it.
Is this the one, a 1992 movie where someone is killing off contestants of a skimpy dance-off?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to look that further into that.
I think
never even heard of it.
It'd be right up your street, Erik.
Yeah, so skimpy dance-offs are what I'm all about.
Exactly, yes. So, well, thank you, Nathan. Is there anything else you want to say about Last Dance?
Just that Erik needs to watch it ASAP.
Okay, great.
It's on my to-do list along with,
Bob Hoskins. So, were you going to add something, Erik?
No, I was just going to say, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, here's my number 3.
If that gun is real, you are all in serious trouble.
We thought you might need a little persuading. What's wrong with the swim? Come on. It's not much to ask for 4 years of putting up with your shit. Now go on.
Get out of my way.
Go on! Vicky, What the hell are you doing? I know exactly what I'm doing. Vicky, it's not funny anymore. Shut up, Liz. You all want this as much as me. Someone's gonna get hurt. Give me that gun. Hey, stay where you are. She's all right. Okay, Slater. Move it!
Okay, well, that was Vicky, played by Eileen Davidson, from a film we've already covered on the podcast, House on Sorority Row.
Never heard of it.
You have. I really like it because it's what I think is she's not well she's kind of a bitch, but she's not a mega bitch through the other girls. I mean, she basically hates the house mother, and her bitchiness essentially is the catalyst for all of the murders that happen by what actually, if you haven't seen House and Sorority Row, I'm not going to spoil it, but basically the bitchiness of this one character sets in chain the events that cause the death of pretty much all the characters in the film. And so that's why I've chosen her as my number 3. And I think Eileen Davidson is a pretty good actress in this, and she has that kind of bitchy face. Did you hear that? Actually, another aside. Did you hear that new term, bitchy resting face?
No.
Have you not heard of that? It was in the papers. It was saying that there's not a syndrome. That's the wrong thing to say. But some women have something called a bitchy resting face, where they're not being bitchy, but when they're just not thinking about anything, their face goes into a bitchy face, and it's called bitchy resting face. So
a medical term, is it?
It is a medical term. It's now being used by in the finest surgeons and things. So you probably, I don't know if you can get any plastic surgery to stop bitchy resting face, but yeah, apparently that's a known thing now. And some women, and probably some men as well. I don't know if men get bitchy resting face. I haven't seen you in the flesh, Erik, but yes. So I don't know if they can stop that, or they can do any nip tuck to stop give you a little smile. So anyway, that was my number 3. Mm-hmm. And shall we move on to the number 2s and the celebrated number 2s? And we have a little twist on the cat flushing the toilet, courtesy of Joseph. And Joseph coming in with your number 2 after this.
Flushing the toilet, she's a bitch. Flushing the toilet, she's a bitch. Flushing the toilet, she's a bitch. Flushing the toilet.
Loving it.
Court, you didn't already.
Oh, come on, wasn't that the end of the song?
Great. Great. This thing is burned out. Freaking Horace is gonna have my butt.
Who's Horace?
My freaking stepfather, an asshole residence.
How'd that happen?
What?
Will you go out and plug the cord back in?
Who unplugged the cord?
Smokey the freaking bear. I don't know. Just go do it.
Do you know how cold it is out there?
I don't give a shit, Court. Go do it.
You're a real pain in the ass. Means you're a pain in the ass.
Okay.
And
Joseph.
that is Nikki from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. She has kind of a good reason to be a bitch. I mean, Court couldn't really keep it up until the end of the song. He's kind of like a one-pump chump.
It was a 12-inch remix.
Yeah.
Give him a break.
12-inch, huh? So she has a good reason to be a bitch, but I've always loved Darcy DeMoss. I think she, every movie I've ever seen her in, she has that kind of bitchy demeanor and attitude, and I think she, for the short period of time she's on screen here, she kind of, pulls that out of her hat really well again. So I like her. I like her a lot.
No, it's a good choice. It's a good choice.
I've never really considered her a bitch in that film.
I didn't either.
Well, she was being bitchy to Court.
Yeah, I know.
But she had good reason.
What, just because she wanted to get her thing?
Yeah. Men, we don't know what we did.
It's true.
Well, thank you, Joseph. That's yes. It's. I think we may have some more Friday 13th coming up, and considering I bagged this one coming up after the next 2, much probably to Erik and Nathan's.
Yeah, it was all pre-organised while I was away on holiday, so when I came back I was slim pickings, I tell you.
Yeah.
And I was out of town when all this was being discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah, bitch.
So, it's appropriate for the top 3.
It is indeed.
So my number 1 isn't probably even a bitch, but we'll discuss that later.
Okay, right. Well, we have Erik coming in with your number 2 after this.
She's a bitch. Flushing the toilet, she's a bitch. Flushing the toilet, she's a bitch. Flushing the toilet, she's a bitch. Flushing the toilet.
Hello?
Yes, I thought you were going to play the clip.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're quite right. Sorry, that's
Justin.
One cocktail
Well done,
too many. Sorry, here we go.
I didn't know you and Brady had anything, okay? You knew. You just didn't care. He's not married. Besides, I've got a right to do what's best for me. Don't you mean what you do best? Wise up to what men want, Rachel. Or Brady won't be the last man you lose to another woman. Have some coffee.
Okay. Yes. Have some coffee indeed. That's the wonderful Kelly from Halloween 4. She's easily the best thing in what I consider to be the second weakest of the Halloween sequels after part 6. She really livens up what is a pretty dour movie to me with her, her perkiness. And she's like a really likable character up until, well, even in the scene where she sleeps with what's supposed to be Rachel's boyfriend. I think she's far more likable than Rachel. As far as I'm concerned, she can bloody well feck off their stupid knitwear and her prudish attitude. I was saying that Rennie from Friday the 13th Part 8 is one of the blandest final girls ever. Well, Rachel from Halloween 4 gives her a good run for her money, I think. So Kelly, again, far more likable, even if she's a bit bitchy and, gets it on with Brady, even though I think he is probably one of the ugliest men in a slasher movie. His face is all scrunched up or something. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. It's like he's had plastic surgery at the age of 18 or something. Kelly in Halloween 4, she's got the bazongas, I'm sure that Joseph would appreciate, and she's got the attitude for the rest of us. So
it's amazing. We are channeling bitch today, aren't we?
We are.
Erik is a mega bitch today.
I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with it that I do like breasts, but why is it always Joseph will appreciate this because she has large gazungas?
Well, because we all know what you're like. You're all about the gazungas.
Well,
yeah, you're not denying it, as a. Yeah.
I'm not going to say what you're all about.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to be not a
Bob
bitch.
Hoskins'
I'm trying to be
hairy
kind.
back.
I'm trying to be the kind, gentle soul of the podcast.
Yeah, you can be the Rachel. Yawn.
This is like the Interior's Illusion Lounge, isn't it, Nathan?
It's like the what?
Interior Illusions Lounge. Nathan will get that reference.
Oh, yes. RuPaul.
Yes.
But we're not having... Are you having an absolute cocktail?
No, I'm drinking cranberry with ice, but it hasn't got any vodka in it. But I have had a tin of Beck's, so it's had a little bit of alcohol. But yes, we should have all been drinking Absolute vodka drinks. That we should have made it even more of a bitch fest, I imagine.
I keep forgetting that you're like 5 hours ahead of us because it's
still too early to be drinking, Justin.
Oh, Erik, come on! What are you drinking?
White wine.
Well, there you go. Yes. So.
Yeah, but I'm Irish. It's expected of me. You're supposed to have higher standards.
Am I? Why would I have higher standards?
I don't know.
I'm drinking coconut with lime. I put the lime in the coconut and drink them both up.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
I'm drinking nothing.
Actually, I'm not. I'm not drinking anything.
I'm wearing nothing. I'm
drinking in this wonderful show.
Yes. Well, we're rambling, but it seems to be all within the parameters, or whatever, of what we're trying to do, isn't it? Yeah. Which I'm not entirely sure what that is.
Big thumbs up for Kathleen Kinmont in Halloween 4. She should have been the final girl.
Excellent.
She could have knocked out Michael Myers with her bazungas.
Thank you, Erik. And Nathan, I shall actually play your clip after this.
Flush in the toilet, she's a bitch. Flush in the toilet, she's a bitch. Flush in the toilet, she's a bitch. Flush in the toilet.
Look, what do you have against Valerie anyway?
Nothing.
She drinks too much milk.
Wouldn't happen to have anything to do with how good a basketball player she is, would it?
Or how pretty she is.
She works at it.
Did you ever notice how perfect her eyeliner is?
Just so.
No reason to be unkind.
I don't like people I have to get to know.
Can I borrow your deodorant? Hey, it's her problem she transferred here, not mine. Diane, you're a snob.
Hey, only the best people are, you know?
Okay, Nathan, what was that from?
Oh, that was the wonderful Diane from the Slumber Party Massacre. I mean, you can't have a bunch of high school girls in a movie together without at least one of them being bitchy. And she fits that role very well. And what you may not know is the girl she's talking about is overhearing everything she's saying about her. So I know how hurtful it must be to be, for people to say you drink too much milk and that your eyeliner is perfect.
I can imagine, yes. It's a cutting.
I mean, that would hurt
remarks.
your feelings.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have 4 podcasters together without bitchiness either, apparently.
Well, I think it's in keeping, Erik, isn't it? I'm only in character at the moment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In your
What's
character.
your excuse every other podcast?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in character every podcast, aren't I? So
okay.
The character.
Of
course, yes. So, yes, no, good pick, Nathan. Anything anyone else wants to say about Nathan's pick?
I would have to rewatch The Slumber Party Massacre to comment, I'm afraid. It's been a while.
Yes. Same here, actually. I haven't seen it for ages and ages. So, but I'm sure that's something we will get around to at some point. Nathan, is that something? Are you going to be picking some of those movies, do you reckon? In the near future?
On down the line, I intend to.
Why don't you pick it? Why don't you cancel your next pick and do this one instead?
No.
Please?
No. I really want to do this double feature.
I'll give you $5.
Yeah, Nathan has a double feature coming up, which will be, I'm not going to say what it is, but imagine all your dreams coming true, and then you'll listen to this podcast. So, and not the two things. Anyway, let's go on to my.
Flush in the toilet, she's a bitch. Flush in the toilet, she's a bitch. Flush in the toilet, she's a bitch. Flush in the toilet.
Eddie, this isn't gonna work out.
What's the matter?
I lied.
Lied about what?
About everything. You just don't turn me on, really. Oh, come on. At least I gave you a chance. You just didn't come through. Anyway, I was kind of hoping Nick would come back and find you with me.
Why'd you lie?
You know, make him jealous.
That was the fantastic Melissa from Friday the 13th, Part 7, who was played by the late Susan Jennifer Sullivan, who was a kind of ultimate preppy kind of bitch, 80s bitch.
She's dead?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not know that. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
She died of, she died in 2009, I think.
Oh,
Sadly
that's
so.
too bad.
Yeah, but she played a great bitch in this. She didn't do actually much. She went on, I think she was in Click, the Calendar Killer, Girl Killer, after this, but and one other thing. But I thought she was really good in this. She's quite funny, but she was like the ultimate ice cold blonde bitch, who kind of had that real 80s. I used to really hate people who dressed like that, really kind of preppy 80s look with her, her pearl necklace and stuff. So what? She did have a pearl necklace on.
Yeah, she did.
Went all over the carpet.
You probably had a pearl necklace on her several times, I'd say.
Oh, Erik.
Continue.
I imagine you've had a pearl choker in your time, haven't you?
Ooh.
So, but yes, no, Melissa is great in that, and obviously she's just kind of really, really nasty to Larpa Lincoln's kind of, who is a bit of a kind of quirky, kind of weird character anyway. But yeah, she just kind of hovers haughtily around the teenage party with people getting stoned, and just telling them about how much her daddy loves her and what a perfect life she's got. And so yeah, I think she's pretty much the perfect slash movie bitch. Who, of course, if you've seen Friday the 13th Part 7, and I expect you have, she gets her comeuppance as you would expect in any Friday the 13th movie. So, but I imagine some of you others would have picked Melissa if I hadn't got in there first.
Yes, I would definitely.
Yeah.
I would have.
Yeah, so. I probably would. I would, for the audio clip, I probably would have picked the line. Is this the way they wear the straitjacket in the mental hospital?
Yes, well, there's so many to pick from, wasn't there?
I know.
Yeah,
and her comeuppance is quite satisfying, I think, as well, because it's one of the few remaining effects shots in the film.
Yes,
That's
I
like
like it when Larpa Lincoln turns up and she just goes, "Oh, there goes the neighbourhood," and she has no idea of who this teenage girl has just turned up is. She's just kind of immediately her uber bitch.
And you were saying about I can't remember the character's name from House on Sorority Row, but like she's nice to her friends and just bitchy about the house mother. But Melissa is just really horrible to everyone around her. It's like, who invited her to this party?
Exactly. I suppose she was just like the popular girl, wasn't she? I kind of guess, because I've never been. Actually, it's a question. This is lots of asides with this. It's going to be a 45-hour long show. But Nathan, Joseph, you might know this because in your experience when you were at high school, because obviously rewatched Heathers recently, and you had those kind of really bitchy high school girls in there, the little clique, and they were the popular girls. Is that kind of a cliche of American high school to have those kind of? I was wondering why Erik was saying about Melissa being invited to this party if she was so bitchy, but would it have been a kind of pecking order kind of popularity thing?
No, not really. I never noticed that when I was in high school. I mean, some girls hung around each other, but it was not cliquish. It was just more like, I don't know. That's hard to explain, but never in the kind of over-the-top generalization of slasher films. No, not like that at all.
Well, that's probably why you never had a mad slasher at your high school.
Well, we did once, but I killed him.
Okay, well, fair enough. What about you, Nathan?
Well, I mean, there were popular people in my high school, but I don't remember anybody being, just unnecessarily bitchy for any reason that I can think of. But I always got the feeling that Melissa was just friends with like one person, maybe the guy whose birthday it was or something, and was invited just for that reason, and not because she was friends with the rest of them. Because even Maddie at one point just said she just like, Melissa's like that with everybody except boys.
No, she does say that, doesn't she? So, yes. Okay, right. Well, thank you, everyone. That was my number 2. So we're going to go on to Joseph's number 1.
Bravo. Practicing for tonight?
As a matter of fact, I was.
Practice makes perfect. Kim is always so perfect.
Nick likes me that way.
Really? You are keeping in mind that after tonight is all over, everything's going to be back to normal. I mean, Nick is king of the prom, and you just happen to be queen of the prom. But that's as far as it goes, Hammond.
You really ought to tell him that.
I'm telling you, okay?
You seem a little anxious, Wendy. By the way, who are you going with tonight?
It's not who you go with, honey. It's who takes you home.
I'll try to remember.
You wait and see. Just wait and see.
Okay, Joseph.
That was Wendy from Prom Night. I think she's right up there with the best of the bitches. Plus, she also gets that wonderful chase scene, which we've mentioned before. I kind of felt, well, I don't want to say I felt bad for her, but I definitely liked her more than the actual Jamie Lee Curtis character. I thought she was more interesting. And, she does all the things like trying to stir up trouble and, dating that Lou, is it Lou, the bully character, to try to, cause controversy at the prom. She's just, the archetypical, bitch. And that's why I picked her for my number 1. She has really good catty dialogue, too. They have that good back and forth. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes, I agree. I chose the exact same clip for, I think it was just top 3 dialogue clips from slasher movies. And she would have been my number 1 if Joseph hadn't stolen her from me. I do think she's really interesting, but I think
gallbladders removed.
Because I was on vacation, as you would say, is when this was decided. So,
quit taking vacations.
Yeah, but I think she's equally I wouldn't say she's more interesting than Jamie Lee Curtis, because I think Jamie Lee Curtis is quite strong in this movie. But I think she's the equal of, and even though she's bitchy and unlikable, she's really, really entertaining to watch, which I think is the reason why you kind of feel sorry for her when she dies, because she is an entertaining character.
Mm-hmm. I think I would agree with that. It's because she's so entertaining that, you kind of feel bad for her when she dies. But when you sit back and think about it, like, she is one of the more crueler slasher movie characters, that's not a killer. Because, she, took part in Jamie Lee Curtis's sister getting killed when she was a kid. And then she's bitchy to her throughout school, apparently.
Yeah.
On top of it, it's like, okay, I killed your sister. Now I'm just going to be mean to you and try to steal your boyfriend.
Well, that's all part of her cover-up. Yeah.
It's transference.
Yeah. But that dialogue, I think, is brilliant. I love the way she addresses her as Hammond, not just as Kim.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that, Hammond.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Joseph. And good number one. And Eric, I think we might know what yours are going to be.
Yes.
Pity Antonio couldn't choose between us. I certainly wouldn't mind if he took me home.
And for what reason would he choose you when all you do is throw him in the swimming pool and make a nuisance of yourself?
Oh, Antonio would understand. It's only a little fun. Besides, that's the best way to learn a foreign language, in bed.
Well, when all you want to is become Antonio's Spanish-speaking mistress.
Serve me Antonio with chocolate icing and watch me devour his body.
Good idea. Bring us some dessert and see that it's got plenty of chocolate icing.
I thought you knew how to take a joke, Antonio.
Why did you get upset? I was only doing what you asked me.
One great Latin lover thinks he can just sit there looking like God's gift to women, you lousy fraud.
What's eating her? She really tore into you. Don't take her too seriously, Antonio. When it comes to sex, Inga's a little naive.
Okay. Well,
Eric,
that's, of course,
you picked yourself?
Ha, ha, ha. Eric is Inga. Very funny. Now, Inga, I don't know if she's not the traditional bitch. She's not the, slagging off all her friends and being mean. I think she's more of a moody bitch. Again, it was I had to really sort of scrape the bottom of the barrel for bitches. That's a very strange sentence, I have to say.
It is, yes.
So I chose Inga. So people may disagree, but I do love her. And I love the way in that clip, like she's all flirting with Antonio, saying she wants to cover him in chocolate icing and eat him, and he suggests the same thing back to her, and she throws a strop and storms off. She's bipolar, I'm guessing. And every line of dialogue she has in the film is outrageously entertaining. Particularly the one that we keep coming back to, where she's bouncing up and down the bed, pretending she's having sex with Ralph. So that's why I've chosen Inga. You may disagree that she's a bitch, but hey, you shouldn't have stolen all the good ones from me.
Yes. No, I think
well, she may not be a bitch, but you are, Inga.
You make me cry.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's the old deflection. Yeah. We've seen it all before.
I'm
Eric.
recovering from surgery.
Cry me a river.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Dick face.
Pardon?
What?
Cry me a river, dick face.
God.
It's a quote from...
Just like Hysteria continues to have a HR department.
Yeah. Follow it right here, buddy. Right here.
Yeah, it's just out that door, Eric. Right.
Just past
anyway.
the water cooler.
Nathan, here's your number one.
Okay, slime buckets, listen up. The phrase for today is I myself prefer a big, fat cucumber. Let's hear it.
I myself prefer a big, fat cucumber.
I can't hear you.
I myself prefer a big, fat cucumber.
Hey, girls. I've got a big fat cucumber. Where would you prefer it?
Get lost, losers.
Okay, Nathan. What's that and why is your number one?
That is the wonderful Veronica from Killer Party. I like Veronica a lot because, through most of the movie, she's, like a mean bitch, especially to the girls pledging the sorority. But I guess in a way she kind of needs to be because, she's the one that's putting them through their initiation. But I always love the scene where the girls, they think that the frat house is haunted and Vivia gets, pulled into the basement and Veronica, tries to get all the girls to pull together and go downstairs all together to find out what's going on. I thought that was smart thinking, especially from somebody who, I thought was just kind of a brainless, bitchy character. But ultimately, she's awesome, and she's got her great lines of dialogue when she's very cruel and mean.
Absolutely, yes. And did you see that link I put up about that Total Film in the UK said that Killer Party was one of the best 50 sort of cult films you'd never heard of?
I did, and I agree with them.
So, yeah,
except that we've heard of it.
Well, we have, of course, but most people, when there's a few on that list I hadn't heard of, so I've kind of gone seeking them out. But it's very good. It's a very good choice, Nathan. Anything else you want to say about that?
No.
No. Okay. Well, just going to my number one. Now, I kind of kicking myself for not choosing. I don't know why I didn't go for the bitchy wheelchair girl in Psycho Beach Party, because she had some great lines. Was it Bettina Barnes? I can't remember. Do you remember?
No, it was Rhonda.
Rhonda. Okay, yes, that's right. But she has some great lines, didn't she? And I should have done that, but I haven't. I've gone for The Old Standby, which is another film we've covered, but this is my number one.
Mom, it'll be all right. Daddy's down there. It'll be all right.
Oh, sure. Daddy's down there. He knows what to do. Daddy always knows just exactly what to do.
Cheryl, don't.
Especially when he wants to run lives. That's a crack-up, isn't it? He's a burnout and he's trying to run my life. Cheryl, he can't do anything right. He's a waste, Mom. A burnout. Shut your bitchy mouth!
Yes, that was Cheryl and her sister fighting from 1982's Superstition. And how could we not end this part of the show with without "shut your bitchy mouth" comment, which I think has to be one of my favourite sound bites and one we have used quite a few times in the past. So anything you want to say about that, or are you going to shut your bitchy mouth, Erik?
I'm going to shut my bitchy mouth because I prefer a big fat cucumber.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
And I can keep it up till the end of the song.
Right. What about you, Nathan?
Can you keep up?
I wore my jacket that way in a mental hospital.
Right. Okay. Well, there we go. So that is the end of the bitching part one. But we will be coming back with some more mega bitching in part two of the show for the main feature, which is Sleepaway Camp. So here is the trailer for the film.
Dear Mom and Dad, I've been at a sleepaway camp for almost 3 weeks, and I'm getting very scared.
Welcome to Sleepaway Camp. Someone is watching you.
Hey, Baba, Reba!
Someone is waiting for you. Someone wants to scare you to death.
Turn it! Turn the wheel! Oh my God!
Sleepaway Camp. You won't be coming home.
Welcome to Camp Arawak, where teenage boys and girls learn to experience the joys of nature as well as each other. But when these happy campers begin to die in a series of horrible accidents, they discover that someone, or something, has turned their summer of fun into a vacation to dismember. Has a dark secret returned from the camp's past, or will an unspeakable horror end the season forever? Sleepaway Camp is it's a film. When I first saw it way back in time, it was released in the UK as Nightmare Vacation on video, probably about 1984-85, and it struck a special chord with me when I saw it, probably around about that time, because I was kind of roughly the same age as some of the characters in the film, and obviously most slasher movies made around this time, like for instance the original Friday the 13th, didn't have any of the kind of the kids actually summer camp. Really, it was all about the older teenage or early 20-something, or in slasher movie kind of the way the slasher movies often are, kind of late 30-something, pretending to be teenagers in the film. So to actually have a film where there was a very young cast, it kind of struck a chord with me, and I know I'm not alone. In fact, I think I'm actually the same age as Felissa Rose is in real life. So it kind of struck a chord with me. When I caught up with it, when I first started Hysteria Lives, I didn't like it quite as much. The Porky style humour and stuff kind of started to annoy me a bit, because I kind of just wanted a straight ahead slasher movie. But over the last few years, I've kind of rediscovered Sleepaway Camp, and I think it is kind of pretty much the perfect kind of trashy, and I mean that in the best possible way, early 80s slasher movie, and it has got it all really. It's got the gore, it's got some suspense, and it's got a delightfully twisted kind of aura to it. It's very considering it's essentially a carbon copy of a lot of other slasher movies, at least in theme and in some ways execution. They're very, very twisted, kind of unusual feeling throughout it, with stuff which I'm sure we're going to talk about, which does set it set it apart from some of the others. And of course it has that ending, which I'm sure we'll get to. So I'm curious to see how it holds up for the rest of you. So Nathan, I know you're a big fan of the sequels, but what do you think of the original Sleepaway Camp?
I think it holds up very well. I really like all the characters in it. And, for the most part, the people that are getting killed, they kind of deserve it. Like bullies are getting killed, and, the pedophile cook, gets boiled. A lot of people kind of deserve what they're getting because they're just so unnecessarily cruel. And I like you said, the ending is just, Sleepaway Camp wasn't the first movie to do this kind of ending, but it was the one that is the most memorable. Everybody's going to remember that final shot. How can you not? It has some pretty inventive death scenes too. I like the bee death, the guys in the bathroom stall, and the killer drops them in there and he gets stung to death. Although, how he couldn't break that little wooden handle to get out, is a little crazy to me. But, whatever. It's a fun slasher movie regardless. It's just the right effect. It's the right balance of fun and sleazy.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan. We'll come back and talk a bit more about it. But what about you, Erik?
Yeah, I didn't see this actually until it came out on DVD from Anchor Bay in 2000. I knew of its existence in the 80s as Nightmare Vacation, but it just never was available, and neither were any of the sequels. So I arrived at it quite late. I remember being kind of disappointed watching it for the first time. I can't pinpoint exactly why. Maybe it was the sort of the quirkier tone that it had, and maybe the Porky's style feel. But, coming back to it in these last few weeks to do it for the podcast, I was just reminded about it. It's a lot of fun. It's very enjoyable. And, it's definitely worth watching for a number of reasons. First of all, of course, there's that spectacular end shot, which I love the way that it just ends on that shot and then the credits roll. I like the way there's no sort of epilogue to it. I think that sort of strengthens the ending. We were doing our top 3 bitches, of course, and Sleepaway Camp has 2 of the best bitches ever in Judy and Meg. Judy probably being the best. Her huge hair makes her head look enormous on top of her skinny little body. She's like one of those bobblehead toys, I think. But she's just such a wonderful character, and she's one of those bitches that's just so entertaining. You don't care how despicable she is. It's just every moment she's on the screen, it's just really entertaining. And the same with Meg as well. And how Meg has managed to stay in employment at Camp Arawak is beyond me. As she verbally abuses Angela, then slaps her and shakes her and throws her into the lake, and still she hasn't shown her P60 or whatever the equivalent is you have in the UK or the States. It reminds me of Selena in Movie House Massacre. How she managed to stay employed in that place is just bizarre. 80s are probably a much different era than it is now.
Well, her boss was an abuser too.
Her boss?
Yeah.
In Selena's case or in Meg's case?
Oh, I was talking about Meg's case.
Oh, Mel. Yeah, of course, because he slaps around Ricky all the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's convinced that Ricky is the killer. One of the other things I love about Sleepaway Camp is it's just absolutely wall-to-wall fashion-tastic. Of all the 80s slashers movies, this has the tightest hot pants, the highest waistbanded hot pants. You've got cropped T-shirts that I only ever saw in sort of, really, really camp Village People videos from the era. And then you've got that fake moustache. I don't care how bad. The movie could be awful. The movie could be Terror at 10 Killer, but it would be watchable for that fake moustache because it's the best thing ever. There's a character in it who apparently he was a male model. We'll probably get to this in the background. Who had to disappear for a photo shoot, shaved off his moustache, came back to do his final few scenes, and they put a fake moustache on him that looks like duct tape. It really is. It has really sharp edges, and it's the most phony looking thing ever. I don't know how they even thought it would work. I mean, they would have been better off shooting the character from behind or something.
Yeah, they might have got away with it on like a really bad video transfer. But I imagine if you saw it in a cinema, or if it ever came out on Blu-ray, even on the crappy, I mean, the Anchor Bay DVD is pretty crappy, isn't it? The one I've got is the picture quality is pretty ho-hum, but yeah, it still stands out, doesn't it? There's the worst fake moustache ever.
And it has the least discreet paedophile I've ever seen since Jimmy Savile. Which won't be Nathan to Joseph and just Nathan, but you'll know what I mean. In terms of the death scenes, they are quite creative. I think probably one of the reasons I was disappointed when I watched it first is that it wasn't as gory as I was anticipating for an early 80s slasher, because I was all about the gore, probably even at that stage in my life. I was, as I said, I'm not the most mature of people. And I was listening to the audio commentary on the Anchor Bay track, and the director points out that the only blood in the film is the scene where the killer is washing the knife in the shower, and that's the only blood you see. So, but the deaths don't need gore as such. I mean, there's the bee death, where you just see the character covered in bees, and for me the highlight is quite a disgusting scene where they find Kenny's body, and he's sort of semi-decayed, and a water snake comes out of his mouth and crawls over his face, which was quite grim, I thought, for a film that had kind of a fun tone. Speaking of mouths, actually, Ricky has the most potty mouth I've ever heard in a slasher film.
Cocksucker.
I mean, he's so...
Cocksucker.
Yeah, he's like he's straight in from a Rob Zombie movie. I mean, he's only supposed to be, 13 or 14, and he has a mouth like that? Oh my God. His mother hasn't brought him up well, I don't think. If there is a problem with the film, I think there's probably too many characters that they're trying to squeeze into their 85 minutes. But that happens a lot in slasher cinema, so it's not a huge problem. And I think it captures a great summer camp atmosphere that maybe some other slashers don't. And as you said, Justin, the reason for that is it actually has, young characters. It actually has 13, 14-year-olds playing 13, 14-year-olds in the film, which gives it a more of a Meatballs feel than maybe Friday the 13th. But as I said, the end of the film still amazes me, even though, I've seen it a zillion times at this stage. Obviously, it'd be more effective if you don't know what's about to happen. Unfortunately for me, by the time I got to see the film, I knew exactly what the ending was. But I still found it quite powerful. It's definitely worth checking out. And it has the immortal line, "I've got to take a wicked dump." So much to like in the film.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Erik. Joseph, how about you?
Well, Erik was asking how Meg could keep her job, and I think it's pretty obvious since she's sleeping with a male.
Of course. That was another thing I was going to bring up. Yeah. Is she doing that? Is she doing that to keep her job, or is she doing that because she's genuinely attracted to him?
I think she was attracted to him.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's kind of indicative of this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, that's all I said was, I just said, the way she acted like she was attracted to him.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got as well. Yeah.
Well, either way, it's kind of indicative of this whole film. It has this weird kind of vibe of, in most slasher films, when they delve into kind of sexuality, it's, basically teenagers in love. Here it's, this girl who's probably 17 years old, she's dating, the owner of the camp who's probably in his 60s. And then you have that pedophile who's, basically, going around like a vulture looking for little kids. And then, not to mention on top of that, you have the, Angela who, big spoiler, turns out to be, a boy. So there's obviously this repressed sexuality going on. It's just so weird and bizarre. This whole film is just covered, caked, and permeated in that kind of feeling, I guess you'd say. But, yeah, it's like one part, just kind of a hijink summer camp movie, and then some of it's like really grim slasher stuff. It's kind of bizarre and all over the place, but it really works because it's just like this whole melange of weirdness going on. And I do like the characters, even though pretty much 95% of the characters are pretty despicable and mean, and it just kind of works here. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did. I mean, a lot of slasher films have all these hateful characters that you can't wait to see die, but here they're all hateful, and yet you don't really root for them, but you enjoy watching them on screen, from Ricky's potty mouth to Meg and Judy's complete bitchiness, and And then you got that Ronnie, who looks like a freak of nature on steroids, and all his flat acting and Mel's overacting to Ricky thinking he's the killer, and then you have that kid who is, I think he was in The Last Starfighter. I think that was the same movie. I can't remember. He was in one of those big 80s science movies.
Who was?
He's
Sorry?
the one who liked the boy who likes Angela.
Oh, right.
He was in one of those.
Yeah.
It's Christopher Collette.
He was in one of those.
He's in Firstborn, I think, with Corey Haim.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah, he's in one of those science kind of movies, like The Last Starfighter or Manhattan Project or something like that.
Yeah, it's Manhattan Project. He was in that.
Yeah,
And he was in The Langoliers, which is a great concept, but
Yeah.
not a terribly great TV miniseries. But
Yeah, I mean, every character in this movie has some sort of huge flaw, but yet they're very enjoyable to watch. I think my favorite scene that's always stood out is the scene where what's his name, Kenny, where Kenny's actually under the boat and he's calling for Leslie. He's like, Leslie, and then the killer just pops up out of the water. I always found that scene to be really, kind of startling. But interestingly enough, I first saw this film in 1985 or 86. We had rented. It might have been 87 or so. I don't remember. I remember we rented Summer Camp Nightmare, but Sleepaway Camp was in the box. So when we watched it, we were like, well, this has nothing to do with what's in the box. And there wasn't a label on the tape. So when we took it back to the video store, he was like, oh, it got mixed up. So that was my kind of introduction to Sleepaway Camp. After a few years after I'd seen it, I'd kind of forgotten about it. And so I'd kind of got, Sleepaway Camp and Summer Camp Nightmare kind of mixed up. So I was like, that movie with a girl turns out to be a boy. I want to see that again. I think it's called Summer Camp Nightmare. So I went to rent that. When I finally watched it, it wasn't that movie. And I'm like, well, what's the movie? So I finally found out it's Sleepaway Camp. And that's pretty much, my legacy with the film. But yeah, I really do enjoy it a lot. It's definitely sleazy and definitely just bizarre and out there. But it's legendary, I'd say, definitely.
It certainly is legendary, isn't it? I mean, should we talk a little bit about the beginning scene where because I love that overacting of the
skier
movie, the water skier, which we started the show with. It's basically, if you've not seen the movie, we are going to spoil it in a minute, so just be aware of that.
I think we have already spoiled it.
Oh, all right, okay. Well,
you're talking about the opening scene. The one bit of the opening scene that I always laugh at is right after the boat hits the two. Well, I guess it's two mannequins pretending to be the teens. It pans to the lover standing on the beach, and he looks like Stanley Tucci, but his reaction is just so funny because it's so nonchalant. He's just like, John. I always laughed at that.
But I love because they basically, the director obviously said to the girl who was in the water skier, who just said, okay, just freak out, and then didn't say cut. And she was just going, oh my God, someone help them, oh my God, help them, someone, she must have been thinking he's going to call cut in a minute, and he doesn't, and just goes on what seems like an eternity. I'm surprised she didn't sort of lose her voice maybe she did after that. But then, of course, that leads us on to Aunt Martha, doesn't it? Who is, again, one of the films.
Oh, yes.
I believe there's a whole bag.
I was thinking that one thing I've never seen written about Aunt Martha. I mean, Aunt Martha essentially is Ricky's mother, supposedly, and Angela's aunt, and who, after the accident in the beginning,
wouldn't she be her uncle?
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing that I think is. I've never seen it mentioned, but there's a film from 1971 called Aunt Martha Sometimes Does Dreadful Things, and it's. Have any of you seen that?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
You have. Yeah, because that's two gay men, isn't it? One of them dresses as a woman, pretending to be a woman called Aunt Martha, and kills people. And so I wondered if that had come into that idea of that had come into play with Aunt Martha, and there was lots of talk on the internet and various things about whether or not the woman who played Aunt Martha was actually a man playing a woman, but it's not, is it? It's
I was just making a joke. Because
but a lot of people. She's dressed in a slightly kind of almost like a sort of almost draggy look, isn't it? It's kind of...
She had a manly kind of face as well.
Yeah. So, but then she chose to play it in such a weird way, that kind of like that really affected kind of way, which none of the rest of the film is like that, is it? It's almost you suddenly think you can stop. Sorry?
Sorry. I like her reasoning for, Peter becoming Angela. We've already got a boy, so you'll have to be a girl. I mean, no one's ever had two boys before, so
well,
that's her reasoning.
I think that her husband left her and she had like a nervous breakdown, and that's why she's so weird and crazy.
But it's funny, isn't it? Ricky is not at all affected by it, is he?
Yeah, I know.
Except for his potty mouth.
Well, yeah, the potty mouth, but yeah, no, she's...
I wonder if Ricky knew that it was a boy.
Yeah, because it's never quite explained, is it?
I don't think they ever really know.
I don't think so.
They never really go in.
I don't think that Ricky knew.
No, I don't think he did. I mean, he's very protective of Angela, because obviously Angela goes to summer camp, which is probably the worst possible place for her anyway, because she's chronically shy, or he's chronically shy, and then drives Meg and Judy to distraction, doesn't she?
Yes.
And I love the fact where I think on the commentary they say he just basically her kind of to auditioning for the role was to sit in a corner and eat a chocolate bar and stare into space.
I could do that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how she got the role.
Oh my God, Eric's a girl.
Hey, I'm only a bit of a girl.
But yeah, I loved Judy as well. I mean, as you talked about there, Erik, but about the high waistband. I mean, her shorts when we first see her, she's got those red shorts on, and they're so high, aren't they? They're almost under her chin. It's just so bizarre. It's kind of and Meg's got that amazing headband in the cafeteria scene, isn't she? Which I thought was.
I like the way she spells her name as well for everyone. MEG.
Yeah. I mean, it's also the whole psychosexual stuff going on in it. I mean, it's just kind of complete fraud, isn't it? I mean, the weird, the paedophile thing, which again, you just considering the age of the children there, and the fact that Felissa Rose did the film, she was only 13 at the time, and it's kind of, and he's making all these jokes about baldies and stuff, and none of the people around him are even really batting an eyelid, are they?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The guy, James Earl Jones' father, who's the other chef there.
Yeah,
is he James Earl Jones' father? Yeah.
Yeah, that's his father.
Know that. All right.
Yeah, he just kind of laughs at him like he's like, Artie, I don't think they want to know what you're thinking. What a dick. I mean, go tell somebody, hey, we got a pedophile working in the kitchen. You might want to take care of him. No, he laughs at him.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have had some.
He just thinks it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, he
did get a raise. He got promoted to head chef, so he gets a raise.
But the paedophile is one of the most despicable characters in it, and it's sort of inferred that he doesn't die. Really, he just gets scalded.
Yeah,
it might be a fate worse than death, though.
It could be, yeah.
And then, of course, you've got Judy's fate, which is basically getting hot tongs at the minge.
Yeah,
and so
woohoo, yeah.
Which is kind of pretty sort of again, there's it's kind of
it was a hot
very
lay.
Twisted. Oh yeah, it's hot lay. So yeah, it's got all this kind of weird stuff going on, and of course the whole kind of you've got the two gay dads, and then you've got like the end with and it's difficult. I wondered whether or not, because I saw some people talking about this, and whether or not you think it is fundamentally. I'm not saying I agree with this, but whether or not people are talking about whether or not it's a homophobic movie, in so much is it around about the fear of gay people, the film itself, or not.
The only indication that I would get of that is when you see the two kids laughing at the two guys, snuggling up in bed. I think the psychosis of Angela is basically because she has been adopted by a psychotic woman more than anything else.
I agree.
Well, I have a question for Erik, but before I ask the question, I think I can understand why Angela is so pissed off to kill people. I mean, not only is she pretending to be a girl and she's really a boy, but she has a small winkle, so that would make me want to kill too.
No, it's probably just 'cause it's a cold night. It's like nighttime by lakeside. It's probably really cold.
It's shrinkage. Yeah, she went swimming.
She's hung like a donkey, swimming. I'd say.
Now, Erik, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If he wasn't a pedophile, would you find the cook to be your cup of tea?
Out of everyone in the cast, yes.
Because he's all burly and bearded and
maybe. Possibly. Although
what if they cast Bob Hoskins as the pedophile?
Oh yeah.
Would that have upset you?
No. Just upset me that
he's just acting.
It would upset me the fact that he was interrupted in the middle of unzipping himself.
Eric, this podcast is going into so many places that probably shouldn't do, isn't it? But I mean, again, it's kind of the weird thing about the film is it's that kind of. I mean, it's got that baseball game, hasn't it, which goes on for about 10 minutes to no purpose whatsoever, really, has it? You know,
and they bowl sort of underarm in sort of a girly fashion.
Yeah,
so they sort of just lob the ball at the batter. Whereas normally isn't the procedure to go overarm and just absolutely wallop the ball at the person.
They're playing softball.
Yeah, that's cricket. You're thinking of cricket, Eric.
What was the character's name? The counselor, not Ronnie, but the guy that sort of looks like Ronnie, who is kind of stocky and muscular as well. He was the other guy that he was on the baseball team. Does anybody remember his name?
Gino.
Yeah, Gino. There's one funny scene with him where he comes in after they've done that whole cut off his vision and he raised it up into the kid's his asshole, basically his nose. That practical joke. He comes in, he kind of gets onto them for having that knife. And then he's like, all right, everybody go to bed. You too, lover boy. And then they all pile on him. And then all of a sudden, he's a big guy. He just decides, okay, maybe I'll do it too. And he just piles on top of all of them.
I know. That was very sus, I thought.
It's like, God, he's going to crush everybody with all his muscles and stuff. I thought that was funny.
I like when Judy got slapped.
Oh, that scene is brilliant.
Yeah.
She's a real carpenter's dream. Flat as a board and in need of a screw.
Ew.
Fuck off.
I would have expected the girl that slapped her to be the one that would have done it out of everybody in the movie.
She's kind of set up as like, she's probably the only one who really cares in the film. She's the only one who has like any empathy with it for anyone. So you almost kind of expect her to be this final girl, but she kind of just disappears.
Well, do you notice the way that she lets Judy have her say, and then she stands up and says, "Stop it, Judy." She doesn't like interrupt Judy in the middle of anything. She's kind of unassertive, I think. But I was watching that I have the film on the background, and I was watching the scene with the bees again, and it would have been very easy for Mr. Epic Dump, or whatever it is, to crawl under the door. Wicked Dump. Crawl under the door or over the door of the cubicle, because there's a lot of space there. But again, it's...
but who would want to get on that dirty bathroom floor?
True. Yeah.
Well, they're being stung to death, yes.
Yeah.
But I'd pick being stung to death.
But it's kind of weird, isn't it? Because I started to watch it, and the bees come in. You hear all the bees buzzing and him screaming and go, oh my God. And there's no bees, is there? You don't see any bees flying about at all. But then you get the shot of him on the ground, or not, the kind of, whatever, the prosthetic of the dead body on the ground, with the bees completely covering it. So it was just strange that they didn't have a few bees flying around in the periphery of the original, the opening shots of that. But
are bees that dangerous? If you stuck a bee's nest into somebody's house, would it sting you to death and cover your face?
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't think so.
African bees.
No, a lot of these death scenes are indeed, kind of painful to, in looking back at them, like the bees and the snake coming out of his mouth, and then certainly Judy with the curling iron. But one death scene that I thought was really disturbing, and you don't even see it, is when they happen upon the kids that have been camping. They've all been killed, and these are all like 5-year-old little kids, and they just see their bodies laying around. I thought that was really disturbing.
They shouldn't have laughed at her.
Yeah, they did. They were throwing sand at her.
Yeah, they were like throwing sand and laughing at her earlier in the movie.
Okay, that's why.
Being 5 years old, that's one thing. You don't know what you're doing, but these teenagers deserve. Wow, that's one. What I'm saying is one shot that they don't really even focus on. It's probably more disturbing than the actual, money shot death scenes in the film, like the curling iron and everything. I found it more disturbing than that.
Let's talk a little bit more about the ends of the film. I really liked, the fact is that not only is Angela now obviously completely mental, and she's cradling the head of what's his name? Who's the guy?
Paul.
Mike, is it? Paul's head in her lap, and but she's also taken time to backcomb her hair. If you notice, it's kind of like really big. She's got like a big kind of sort of like a sort of big backcombed mess of hair. So it's just like it's a bit like in the end of Urban Legend, isn't it? With the woman in that it's the bigger the hair, the more psychotic you are.
Well, I think what I like that's funny is that Angela, turns out to be the killer, but every time they show the killer's hand, it's this big muscular looking arm almost, like it's got veins popping out of its hand and everything. It's obviously not her arm. And I'd heard that it was Ricky, the kid who played Ricky. It was his arm, like doing all that.
Well, apparently,
what about the scene where we see the killer standing backlit in the doorway as he's or she's about to kill Judy? Is that Felissa Rose standing in the doorway?
No.
They talked about that, didn't they, on the commentary?
Who did they say it is in the commentary?
Well, she says to him, "You told me that was me. Was that me? I don't remember." So I don't think they could remember.
Because you can sort of half see the face of whoever is standing in the doorway. It's hard to tell, but it is probably Jonathan Tiersten. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of what I thought was funny was that, I mean, just a little aside before we get onto the feedback in a little bit, was the fact that apparently the reason that Angela didn't play, there wasn't the hands used in that, was it was in a contract that she wouldn't be involved in any of the death scenes, which is fair enough. But her parents said it's okay for her to be in a scene with a paedophile putting his flies down and saying, it's kind of, do you know what I mean? That was just like really weird. I don't understand why she's in a slasher movie. Sorry?
That's kind of like, how it is in America now. Like, people balk at, people being topless on TV, but yet, there's all this violent content they don't really, bat an eyelash to. It's kind of like that.
So it's taking a slurp of my ginger beer. Okay, so is there anything else you want to...
I just wanted to say Joseph used to be very, very mean about the character of Susie. He always called her a mongoloid.
Who?
You.
Susie?
You said,
which one's Susie?
Which one's Susie?
The girl that slapped Judy. You said when that mongoloid slapped Judy, and I remember it like it was yesterday when you said that, because it was a very mean comment.
Yeah. She does have a potato-esque head.
Another potato-esque head.
It's a bitch fest, this show.
Totally.
Mrs. Potato.
One thing I did, they keep on talking about doing a remake, apparently, of this. We can talk a little bit about the sequels shortly, but I did think, can you imagine if they got, for Angela, they got Shangela?
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. I want to see Shangela play Angela.
Yes. And again, for Joseph and Erik, this probably won't make any
No, it
sense
doesn't make any sense to me, no.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. It's another RuPaul's Drag Race. Shangela is probably the most annoying character in that. And she said her name, it's like Angela with a shush, Shangela. And she's just like this really annoying drag queen. So she'd be fantastic as Angela or Shangela in the remake.
Can I say that as far as the sequels go, I do intend at some point to do a double feature of 2 and 3 on the show. So just FYI, I'm not going to pick Return to Sleepaway Camp. I don't want to. I'll never pick that one. If one of you guys want to ever pick that one, that's fine. But I am going to pick 2 and 3 at some point.
Are you saying there is a slasher movie out there that's beneath you?
It's not really beneath me. It's just too annoying.
All right.
Well, the problem is I think they captured lightning in a bottle with Sleepaway Camp unintentionally. I think a lot of this just came off unintentionally, so they tried to, capture that same feeling intentionally with Return to Sleepaway Camp, and it didn't work.
Not at all.
Can I just ask you a question, Nathan? You said that the ending of Sleepaway Camp had been done before. What other films?
No, because I'll spoil it.
All right.
It is a slash.
I'll tell you after the show.
Yeah, you can tell me after then. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I've probably seen it. I just can't recall. Yeah. Okay. It was done before Sleepaway Camp, yeah?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of skim watched Return to Sleepaway Camp this afternoon because I'd never seen it before, and I had about an hour before the podcast, so I just thought I'd just watch it, and I knew I can watch the whole thing, so I skimmed throughout it, and I could certainly see why it would be really, really annoying, because there's the fat kid, isn't there? The one who's
Alan.
Alan, yeah, who's
God.
and he's always bullying and always saying he's being bullied. And he, funnily enough, he reminded me of someone.
Eric.
Oh, shut up. Shut up,
Eric, I'm changing your name to Alan.
But have you... Has anyone else seen that?
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
No.
God.
Is there a lot of the original cast in it, or is there a lot of flashback footage? Because IMDb credits a lot of the original cast in its listings.
Yeah, Ronnie's
There's
in
a lot
it.
of the original cast that comes back, yeah.
Oh, they're back.
Ricky,
they're back in it.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Isaac Hayes is in it as Charlie the chef.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just
Such a misfire.
It is because the character of Alan is supposed to be, I guess, kind of like the Angela from Sleepaway Camp 1, but he is so unlikable. I mean, like Justin said, he's a bully himself. So, I mean, it's hard to feel any sympathy for him when he gets picked on.
I hate people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always screaming and crying, and he's just so obnoxious and uncouth, and he's disgusting. He never showers. He just, hated him. Hated that movie. Terrible.
So, I mean, when people that picked on him start getting killed off, you almost feel sorry for them. It's a shame they got killed because he deserved what they gave him.
I won't give away the ending, but I did quite like the ending. It's obviously not a patch on the original, but
did you not guess though the twist at the end?
As soon as you saw that other character,
as soon as you saw the character, you knew that's what was going on.
Yeah. Do you think Do you think the person who played that character was the person at the end, or do you think they just?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It was.
Okay. Yes, Cyrano de Bergerac, wasn't it? It was a bit.
The full movie is available on YouTube.
Oh yes, you can watch it. I was probably worth watching it on fast forward like I did. Just kind of some. The special effects are quite good. The gore scenes are pretty full on, aren't they?
I love the bunk bed death. I thought that was very inventive.
With the bitchy, the big black girl.
And isn't it the same director as the original, Robert?
Yes,
Robert Hiltzik. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean,
and he's looking to do a fifth one as well, isn't he?
Well, they didn't. What was the? I mean, I didn't. Basically, we had the first film, didn't we? And then we had the two done back to back. Well, Nathan's going to cover, and then there was the Sleepaway Camp 4, wasn't there, or the Survivor? And what
was unfinished?
That's a different movie. Is it to Return to Sleepaway Camp?
Yeah, it was unfinished. It was unfinished. It was going to be the fourth one. It was going to kind of call back to the original, but they never did finish it. But John from Retro Slashers basically found all the footage and kind of compiled it into not really a movie, but it's more of a clip show, but it's kind of, you can watch it as a movie. It's on one of the DVDs, I believe.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it was released. Feature. Yeah, they released the 3 movies as a box set, and that was a special bonus disc. I remember now.
Mm-hmm. But and I would watch that on fast forward as well. It's just a girl wandering aimlessly in the woods for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of dull.
Yeah.
Right. So, but are they trying to make another one as well? Is that?
That's what I read on Wikipedia, which of course is a reliable source for everything.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the director, because Robert Hiltzik. He's kind of a strange character, isn't he?
Well, he never did anything else, really, did he?
No. Well, the rumours were that this made so much money that he never needed to work again.
Really?
Well, yes. I don't know if that was true. It was a big hit, wasn't it? Relatively, anyway. It apparently outgrossed. It made double the amount of Amityville 3D, and outgrossed Yentl on its New York run. So it obviously made him a fair bit of money, but. I did read. He said something, and I'll let you guys go with the feedback, with the background in a second. But just the one thing I was going to say was that he said, someone questioned him about Halloween and stuff, and he said, "Oh yeah, it was an okay movie." It was almost like he kind of basically almost said he hadn't really seen any slasher movies, and it wasn't the reason he was making it, which I find quite difficult to believe. Although it has got that kind of really quirky, weird sort of feel to it and things going on that you wouldn't get in a kind of safe slasher movie, would you? So, but what about you, Joseph? Have you got any background for us?
No, I didn't really research. I mean, pretty much everything about this movie's been it's kind of like the Halloween and Friday the 13th. It's been discussed to death, so I didn't really go looking for anything. I'm pretty sure most people know everything there is to know about it.
Okay. I've got a few bits and pieces. I mean, I haven't, it's like you say, there's a massive amount out there, but what? Nathan, have you got anything you would like to give us?
Who?
No.
Nathan?
All right.
No.
No. Okay. What about Erik? What about you? Can you?
Okay. Well, I'm looking on Wikipedia here, and it says the purportedly final film in Hiltsig's Sleepaway Camp trilogy, which would be parts 1, 4, and then 5. It says it's also in the making. Its working title is Sleepaway Camp Reunion. Distribution has already been arranged via Magnolia Pictures for DVD, with a limited theatrical release planned in 3D. So that's what the plans are for the 5th film in the series. I don't know.
I hope Angela's pee-pee doesn't come out at you in 3D.
Wow! Imagine if it did. They'd have to increase its length from the end of part 1 for that to be in any way effective. Yes. What else did I find? If you go to Sleepaway, it's sleepawaycampmovies.com is the web for it. It has interviews with a lot of the cast members, including Loris Salahan, which is probably pronounced incorrectly. He played Billy, who was the one who was stung to death by the bees, I think. But he was saying that in the skinny dipping scene that they had an audience of locals who'd set up deck chairs and picnics for themselves on a nearby shore to watch all the men get naked. And he said the sight of all the naked film studs to be bouncing into the freezing water set them into some rather questionable behaviour and set me walking off the set, he said. So I wonder what this questionable behaviour that the locals were doing was.
I always wondered that.
Yeah. John Dunn, who played Kenny, who of course is the guy who gets killed after the canoe upturns and who the snake comes out of his mouth. He had a large chunk taken out of his hand when the canoe flipped over because it hit a rock at the bottom of the lake. He had to be taken to hospital. Let's see, what else do I have here? Judy, played by Karen Fields. Now, she doesn't have a huge resume, but she did go on to provide voices on the first series of The Simpsons, not as any of the major characters, but just as some of Bart's friends. So, I mean, I haven't watched the early Simpsons episodes for a long time, so I don't think they're as good as later ones. So, but, I mean, she did have a minor career afterwards. I don't have a lot of other background, I'm afraid. As you said, there was so much of it out there, and I was on holidays as well, and I'm recovering from surgery.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's an excuse.
She was also in Silent Madness. Or was that her sister?
As was Paul D'Angelo. No, Meg was in. Wasn't the girl who played Meg in?
Meg. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so was Paul D'Angelo, who played Ronnie. Was it? He was in Silent Madness as well.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Which one in Silent Madness was Meg? Was she one of the girls killed in that scene where the video game and the upside down aerobics?
No, I think she was the one that survives, isn't she? She's the one that...
right.
Yeah. I think that was her. So...
My memory is so bad. I mean, with these films we review like a couple of months ago, they're just completely gone out of my head.
These shows are blending together. Nathan and I were talking the other day, like, "Oh, we should cover that movie," and then like 2 minutes later, like, "Wait a minute, didn't we cover that movie?"
Oh no!
And we still didn't even know for sure if we had.
I think if we ever get to the point where
I don't even remember what movie it was we were talking
Hell
about. Yeah, Hell Night. Did we cover Hell Night?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah,
okay. I think. Yeah,
did we?
We did, didn't we? Yeah.
No, I'm not sure if we did.
No,
we did.
We did. Sure.
Yeah, we did.
No, we are. We did do it, definitely.
Okay. Well, if we ever get to the point we record a whole show and then realise we've already recorded it on that, it's time for us to stop, isn't it?
I think so.
Yes.
Or it's time for you to stop drinking, at least.
Yes, that's true. And may that time never come, hopefully.
Yes.
So I've got a bit of information here. It was filmed in 1982, in the fall of 1982, in sort of September, October. It was filmed in and around a place called Camp Algonquin, Argyle, New York. which is on Summit Lake, which is where the director he went when he was a kid, and that's where he said that he got the whole idea of the film. You were talking about the locals coming out to watch the Skinny Dipping Boys, but also Angela and some of the other girls apparently did that as well and sneaked in to watch that scene. So I think they were pretty much all had eyes on them. The film was always one day behind schedule. I think the director said he had a storyboard and just ripped it up after. He said that filming in the water, the original shots in the water, was really, really difficult and time consuming. Judy, or Karen Fields, who played Judy, and Catherine Cammy were actually very sweet in real life, and they were very good friends with Felissa Rose, treated her, very well. Now, Judy was originally going to be played by Jane Kowalski, who went on to fame in 30 Rock. Do you know the blonde actress?
She was also in Go. I remember her character in Go.
Yeah,
the blonde girl. Yeah.
Apparently she turned down the film, or she originally cast, and she turned down the film because she wasn't happy with how violent her death scene would be. Although in reality you don't actually see anything, do you? It's all shadows and stuff. And Karen Fields, who played Judy, apparently said that she didn't even read the script. She was just so excited to get the gig, so it didn't really bother her, but she didn't actually read the script. The cast, I think they said they went to relax around there. Wasn't really much to do, but they went to play, they went to bowling, and they went to watch the Amityville Horror. Although I imagine it was probably Amityville Horror 2, wasn't it, they went to watch? Because that would have been around the time. The director told Jonathan Tiersten that he wanted to make the most twisted movie ever when he made it. So certainly, I think when he was making it, in his mind's eye, he knew it was kind of, he was making something different. He wasn't trying to make a cookie cutter slasher movie, and obviously there'd been so many of those at the time. The man at the end playing Angela apparently had to get drunk to do it, and cried all the way through it. So having his very small winkle on screen for sort of half a minute or so.
Yeah, but he had an Angela mask on, so nobody knew who he was.
No, fair enough. The film was shot in 5 weeks on a budget of $350,000. I think the Return to Sleepaway Camp was something made for $4 million.
That's what it says on IMDb, which sounds unbelievable.
It does.
Yeah.
But
I wish I had $4 million.
Yeah,
I could make a better movie than that.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently,
I'm asking for peanuts compared to that. Wow.
Felissa Rose turned peanuts. Yeah.
Peanuts.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
Sorry.
Like peas or nuts.
You've got it on the brain, Erik, haven't you?
Yeah.
My potty mouth. The
yes.
show.
But Felissa Rose turned down the chance to return as Angela in the sequels because she had a place at New York University and didn't want to give it up. So, but she does make a brief appearance in Return to Sleepaway Camp. Or actually not that brief an appearance, but she does go back. So she actually feels, if you read the Sleepaway Camp Movies website, there's actually quite a lot of love for the film. I think a lot of the interviews are quite old now because they did a reunion back in about 2001 with a lot of the cast. But someone like Catherine Cammy, who we tried to get for the show for when we covered Silent Madness, and I couldn't get hold of her, and she's gone into quite a lot of stuff now, but she was really enthusiastic about the film and said she would love to come back, the character to come back. Judy seemed to, when Karen Fields really liked it. So a lot of people seem to be really enthusiastic about it. And the other person, the last thing I was going to say was Ed French did the makeup effects. He also did makeup effects for Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. It was the first one. He did Amityville 2, The Possession. He worked on that. He also did Chud, the original Chud, which is, I think it was a pretty good film. And he also did he went on to do quite a lot of much bigger films, but he also did Blood Rage, the Evil Twin movie with the very, very gory and disgusting special effects in it, which I remember you, Joseph, said that there were some special effects you don't really get grossed out by them, but some of the special effects in that did gross you out. I seem to remember you saying.
I always said that the movie was just dull, but the special effects in the film were just out of this world good. I couldn't believe how good they were.
But yeah, so he's gone on to do lots of things. I mean, he's still working today, so doing a lot of things. But he also did the makeup effects for Return to Sleepaway Camp in 2008, which the first death in that has.
He's got an eye for it. He's good. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Well, those. I thought they were really, really good in the bits I saw on YouTube. The quality is not fantastic, but it starts. The first death is somebody in like a homage to the first film of someone being, instead of being having boiling water poured over them, gets dumped into hot fat like a chip fryer, and when the body comes out, the face is turned into a giant chip, almost covered in batter, and it's just kind of very well done. So yeah, some really good special effects in that. And the other memorable death scene was having somebody's winkle being ripped off with some cheese wire, which is going to make you wince. So that is the background on Sleepaway Camp. Is there anything else we want to say about it before we move on?
I like it.
You like it? Well, I know you. What about Sleepaway Camp?
I like it.
I like the artwork with the knife through the shoe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Good artwork. Media put that out.
I wonder why, when it got released in the UK as Nightmare Vacation, I kind of just guessed that we don't. You probably, I doubt you have them in Ireland, do you, Erik? Sleepaway camps, because the weather
there is
here
summer camps, but they're summer camps you don't stay in. But then we have a thing called the Gaeltacht, which is where you go away for 3 weeks to basically a summer camp, but you have to speak Irish all the time. And if you're caught speaking English, you're sent home. Really? Yeah.
What is that for? That's quite bizarre.
It's encouraged. Yeah, it's young people just being encouraged to speak the Irish, their native tongue.
Yeah.
So, but I think that
English was the native tongue. That shows how dumb I am.
Well, English is the native tongue. Irish is our traditional language that is only spoken fluently by a select few. But I mean, the activity, yeah, exactly. Activity-wise, it's the same type of thing. It's like playing sports.
It's not Indian.
Was that
it?
That was,
that close?
That was very close, yeah.
Can you just speak any Gaelic?
You just said, my name's Joseph, I have a tiny winkle, and I like boys.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going for.
All right. Fair enough.
Can you speak any Gaelic?
I can speak a bit. I was speaking a bit in the interlude while we had our loo break. I was saying things.
Were you? Yeah. Right, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go back and listen to that in a minute.
Suggestive things, yeah.
Yes. Okay, right. Well, that was Sleepaway Camp. I hope you enjoyed our trip down memory lane to visiting various bitches along the way. So, well, we did, didn't we?
So we never got back to your question about Nightmare Vacation, though. That's what was released over here.
Nightmare Vacation.
Yeah, but see, vacation is another American term, so surely they should have called it Nightmare Holiday or something.
Yeah, Nightmare Bank Holiday weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense or anything, but I find the artwork they use for Nightmare Vacation is very underwhelming in comparison to the shoe with the knife of the shoe. It's just that that face, that bald face, just kind of with its mouth open like a guppy.
Yeah, but I think for the sequels, I thought the artwork in the UK was better than that.
Yes.
Oh yes, much better.
But for the first one, it's just the guppy fish face even it's a bit bland.
Do you reckon that's where Dana Kimmel got inspiration for the end of Friday 13th Part 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Possibly.
Okay, well, that was Sleepaway Camp. Feedback. Do we have any feedback?
I have one.
I don't.
Okay.
I have a really, really, really long one, so I'll let Erik go first. You go ahead, Erik.
Okay, this is from Toronto Chris, and he says, "Hey guys, I discovered your podcast about 6 months ago on some random horror message board while searching for something new. Since then, I finally caught up, and the wait between episodes is killing me. I listen to a number of genre podcasts, and I can honestly say that the four of you are the most knowledgeable and passionate toward the subgenre you've chosen to cover. The effort you put into every episode is very appreciated. Confession time. This next bit may seem somewhat confusing, but I know I'm not alone. Out of the 60-plus episodes you've recorded, I've seen probably 15 of the flicks covered, the big ones. I know that may seem ridiculous considering the number of movies I've spoiled, but for me, it's not what you're covering, it's how you're covering it. Each and every episode is informative and entertaining regardless of what you've chosen to talk about. And now that I've caught up, I'm going to try and keep up and watch the flick you've chosen show to show. So keep up the great work. From Toronto, Chris. Well, thank you, Chris. Yes, some of the picks have been quite obscure. A lot of the picks are probably not available commercially on DVD or Blu-ray, but there are ways around that.
Friday the 13th and Black Christmas, those are hard to find.
Well, we do. We get a lot of people saying that they like us to cover the more obscure ones, which is why we have Nathan on board. But I do. I like covering the more mainstream ones. I know we've got sort of another mainstream one in the pipeline for probably the end of the summer. Next week's pick, would you consider an obscure one or a mainstream one that people may have seen?
Obscure. It's kind of in between.
Yeah, I'd consider it obscure as well. Yeah, we'll announce at the end of the program what it is. But thank you anyway, Chris, for your kind words.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, I've got a little one here. Shall I get it out?
Get it out.
Okay. This is from William, William Wilson, who said, really enjoyed the Hysteria Lives podcast on Phantom of the Mall a while back. Oddly, I just revisited it around the time you guys put that up. Anyway, I ended doing this piece doing a piece on the script evolution if we want to check it out, and he's given us a web address. It definitely changed over time, and I even got some cool pre-production storyboards in there. I won't give you the whole URL just because it's quite a long one.
What was that?
But it is, if you go to originalvidjunkie.blogspot.com and search for Phantom of the Mall, then it should be up there. And he says, keep up the amazing work, William. So thank you for writing in, William. Everyone should check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about you, Joseph?
You,
do you want to
yes,
whip out your long one there?
Oh, yeah. Let me whip it out here. This is from Scott Schneid. He basically writes in and says, hey, guys. I, along with my ex-writing partner, Tony Michelman, wrote the original drafts of Phantom of the Mall, which was based on a 30-page treatment called The Mall, by myself and Fred Ulrich. As you know, our draft of Phantom of the Mall was extensively rewritten by Robert King, who was brought in by Freeze Entertainment to bring the budget down from $4+ million to a little over $2 million, what it was shot for. I enjoyed your podcast on the film, and being that I birthed the project from inception, wanted to clear up a few things, or set the record straight, so to speak. Kari Whitman's contention that there was talk of sequels was in fact true. Derek Rydell, who played the Phantom, who signed for a number of them, as Freeze Entertainment was hoping the picture would become a late 80s teen horror franchise for the company. So did I when I wrote it, having just come off developing, executive producing Silent Night, Deadly Night for TriStar Pictures. However, Phantom of the Mall did not turn out as hoped, and those plans were quickly scrapped. The decision not to make sequels had absolutely nothing to do with the availability or lack of availability of the picture's young cast members, but the fact that it did not take off in its limited theatrical release. It did not perform financially at the box office. For your information, Robert King completely rewrote the Schneid-Michelman draft, and in so doing added, in my opinion, many ridiculous things. And although he went on to a very successful motion picture and television career, I felt and still do that he destroyed the project, which one mainstream reviewer called a very, very, very good idea gone very, very, very bad. Now, in his defense, King was a young screenwriter hired by the company to radically revamp what was on the page in order to cut out almost 50% from the budget. Not an easy task. But cobras in the toilet, the Phantom practicing kung fu in his lair, the arsonist turning up as a security guard in the mall, where the sole survivor of the fire is working and could identify him, a mall shop that sold flamethrowers, cobras in the toilet, etc., all seemed ridiculous to me. There was no suspense in the final product, just a handful of mediocre kills, and the lead character's seeming lack of love for the Phantom, as evidenced by her involvement with the reporter, a character not in our original script, was a huge problem for me. Our draft of Phantom was a love story, a story about a young girl suffering post-traumatic stress after the seeming death of her Juilliard-bound boyfriend, who slowly realizes that she's not crazy, that her boyfriend did not die in the fire and is in fact still alive. She becomes proactive along the way, discovering what really happened that tragic night when his house was burned down and who was behind it. Not many people know this, but after director Richard Friedman shot Robert King's rewrite of the of our draft, the new head of the film division at Freeze called in a guy named Tony Caden, who was originally attached to direct Phantom but was dropped from the project, as were myself and Michaelman. When Freeze hired a new head of film production midway through the development process, they asked Caden to view the finished film and see if he could reshoot parts of it or save it. Caden, a longtime friend of mine, told them to forget about reshooting anything. He recommended they scrap the entire film and put the reshoot money toward making a new film of the Schneid-Michaelman draft. Feeling they made a big mistake not doing our vision, they of course didn't do that, and Caden had no part in any reshoots. At the end of the day, Phantom was a very disappointing experience for me. Yes, I got paid and am grateful for that, but it was akin to getting pregnant, carrying the baby for 8+ months, and then having it ripped out of your belly and raised by someone else, who immediately gives it a whole lot of plastic surgery, ruining its potential good looks. That's the way I felt. Not an uncommon story for a Hollywood screenwriter. For giggles, if you're interested, I've attached the original draft of Phantom, which I've kind of skimmed through a little bit, written by myself and Michaelman, that was budgeted at $4+ million by Freeze prior to being rewritten by King. And I'm also attaching an original poster when the pick was called Phantom of the Mall, not Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, which always struck me as lame. I mean, this wasn't a sequel. Who the hell was Erik? The poster also has a great advertising line: places to go, things to do, people to kill. But once again, Freeze blew it. They were a maker of network television movies up until the late mid-'80s, expanding into low-budget features during the video cassette boom, and changed the ad line to the oh-so-wooden "There was a nightmare at the mall, Erik the Phantom struck." He struck all right, but it surely wasn't gold. Thanks again for a thoroughly entertaining podcast. Keep them coming. Best, Scott Schneid, or Schneid. I'd say Schneid.
Well, that is some feedback, isn't it? That's
yes.
that's great to get that. So thank you ever so much for writing in, Scott, because we're all about the background. We love hearing the stories behind, especially some of the more. I mean, that's the other reason, we choose films that perhaps don't get as much coverage, just purely because there's stuff to be said about them that hasn't already been said a million times before. So although we do cover some of the bigger films, the Halloweens and Friday the 13th and Sleepaway Camps, it's good to go for films that maybe people haven't seen, so Joseph can spoil it for them, and then we can get lots of we can get lots of background details. So stuff like that is is music to our ears. So thank you, Scott. That was great. Okay, was there anything else?
No. I have one more here.
Okay.
This is from Scott Schneid. He says, hey guys, excellent. Just kidding.
Okay.
I was going to read out his entire thing again, but...
Well, it's a bit disappointing. We've been away for a month and we've only had 3 messages. So please do write in, because we're going to be recording another show in another week's time for release in a fortnight. So it'd be really good to get some feedback over the next week. So we're actually going to release this show today. So this is actually pretty much kind of current. So but we are going to be recording next weekend. So it'd be really nice to have some feedback for the show. So I'll just play you the contact details. So get a pen and paper ready.
Be sure to search for and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at THC_podcast. Our voicemail is 858-233-9281. And you can email us directly at the.hysteria.continues@gmail.com.
Okay, yes, so do get in contact. Right. Okay, do we have anything else we want to say? How about you, Erik? Do you want to tell us what you're going to be doing next time?
Yes, we're all off to have sex in the furniture shop. It's Hide and Go Shriek.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. From 1987, yes?
And I seem to remember it's got some of the biggest hair, isn't it?
Yes, and isn't there another film called Hide and Go Shriek, or is it just called Hide and Shriek? I think American Gothic was retitled Hide and Shriek or something, was it?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's Hide and Go Shriek. Sex in the Furniture Shop.
Yes.
Directed by Skip Skulnick, who was an editor on Halloween 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the one to look out for, not American Gothic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also it has a connection, doesn't it? The killer has a certain connection with Sleepaway Camp.
does indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that should be an interesting one. So we'll be covering that next time.
Yes.
Yes. Anything?
Yes.
Anything else you want to say, Joseph?
No.
No. What about you, Nathan?
No.
No. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. Well, let's go and enjoy the sunshine. Hope everyone has a good rest of the weekend.
It's tea time now.
So
we can't enjoy the sunshine now. It's too late for us. It's okay for them over in America.
Would you like this rain?
No,
thank you. No, we sent it over your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although my weather app is suggesting thunder and lightning for Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay.
Tuesday and Wednesday, actually, yes. So we have that to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, I'll be off in a couple of weeks' time, off to Canary Islands anyway for some more sunshine.
Well, a few weeks after that, I'm off to Spain.
Yeah.
Oh, it's your 10th vacation this year?
Who are you accusing of that now? Is it me or Justin?
You this time, because you just got back from a vacation and you're going on another one.
Well, not till the 6th of September.
Ooh, so far away.
It is.
Yeah. Erik, how could you?
I know. I just love that sun.
Yeah.
I've had one day off this year.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
One day?
Mm-hmm. We don't get vacations every other day like you do.
Mm-hmm.
We're slaves here. We're cogs in the machine.
You won't be happy to hear I was off for 10 days on sick leave, went back to work for 5 days, and then was off for 11 days on holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You lead such a hard life.
I know.
Yeah. I'd gladly have my gallbladder removed just so I can, get out of work for a few days.
Well, yeah. Once after the first 5 days, I was happy to be on sick leave, I have to say. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, right.
There we go.
Thank you, everyone.
Go check out The Night Before Easter. Bye.
Oh, yes. Yeah, check out The Night Before Easter. Where can people check that out?
That's Kickstarter.com. Search for The Night Before Easter. Facebook.com. Search for The Night Before Easter. We talk about it nonstop on our Facebooks. The body count continues, blah, 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 blah. So you can find it. Just search for The Night Before Easter. Yes, and a good friend to the show, Reese from the Slasher Stop Facebook page, is helping with promotion, isn't he? Yes, he is. Yes. Thank you, Reese. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for listening, and we're going to play out, obviously, with that song from the end of Sleepaway Camp. I think Eric's opening a candy bar.
I'm not. It's not me.
Who's
rustling? It's not me. Who's rustling? It's Nathan.
I don't know.
It's Nathan.
Well, it's not me.
It's not me either.
It was me. I was grabbing some napkins to put into the kitchen.
You don't wait till the end of the podcast.
Well, kind of odd, but okay. Over.
Okay. Right.
Well, it is now. Now no one's ever going to listen to us again, Napkin Boy. On that cliffhanger, we'll play out. So see you next time. Bye. So goodbye.
Bye.
When I look into your eyes, it comes as no surprise. You're slipping away. Angie, you're the love of my life. It's so cold at night. I'm begging you to stay. I know it's all a masquerade. Just what I
Honey, honey. So honey. It's a mystery. Hello? Is there anyone there? Hello, everybody. My name's Justin, and I like Spandau Ballet.
Hello.
Oh, somebody's back at last.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry?
I couldn't find a bottle opener, which is bizarre.
All right.